Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Konoha reads Naruto and RWBY. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by OCmaniac and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Okay, explain this to me again, Ruby. What exactly happened? Weiss asked in agitated for her agitation as she and the rest of the team happened to be in some sort of white wall room filled with couches and chairs, and big screen TV on top. I don't know, all I know was that there was email about a fantasy book coming. I got interested and wanted to check it out, but right when I did, a bright flash happened and it brought me here. Ruby answered honestly. The residential of the looked around for an exit only to see none. Told you reading was an evil power. Jan commented, only to be ignored by the rest of the team. So where exactly is here? Blake asked. My domain. A voice answered. A bright flash was in the room, revealing a man wearing a white mask and white robe. Hi. In response, Team RWBY each took a stance even though they did not have their weapons. Who are you? Who is but the form following the function of what, and what I am is a man in a mask. He replied, grinning madly beneath the mask. Okay, then what the hell are you? Jan asked. Sigh, I never get to have any fun. The man muttered. You can call me O. Oh, no need for question about me, but more on why you're here. It's quite simple really. Who here has heard of the multiverse theory? O asked. He looked around and see no one has raised a hand. Okay, let's try this another way. Has any of you ever read a book or watched a show and thought, hey, if this didn't happen, what would change throughout the story? That is when their hand were raised. What's that got to do with us? Blake asked. I'm glad you asked, Kitty Cat. That nickname earned a heated glare from said cat. Across the infinite multiverse, your lives are always changing due to some extra variable added to your lives. And I thought to myself, why not let you four enjoy a moment like this? From his back, O pulled a hardcover book. There was no picture on the cover, but the title was what caught their attention. Naruto, the Deadly Nightshade. Wait, if it's about us, why is this Naruto guy on the cover? Yam was the first to ask. Well, in most cases the extra variable will be the main protagonist in the story. Trust me when I say you might enjoy this story. O explained. He handed the book to Ruby and proceeded to walk out toward the wall. Don't worry about the classes and whatnot. All time outside of here has been frozen until this story is finished. When you're done, it'll look like you've never left. With that said, he vanished inside the wall. The girl all had a look of shock and astonishment when the being spoke. Before they could say a word, O's head popped out from the wall. By the way, any you girls need will appear, excluding a way out and your weapons. Ta. Well, there goes that idea. Jan commented, looking at the book handed towards them. So who wants to go first? She asked. Well, if no one else will, I'll go first. Ruby answered, taking a seat. Oh, I want a plate of chocolate chip cookies. Immediately, a plate of fresh cookie appeared in front of her. Yay! She whispered. Ruby? Yan asked her sister, trying to snap her out from her trance. Oh, right. The side said, turning her attention back to the book. Chapter 1. The meeting. Most 2-year-old were very limited in things they could do, those 2-year-old having parents, or living in an orphanage surrounded by who would be more than willing to do things for them and give them care. More 2-year-olds were small, fragile, and weak, with no ability to survive on their own in a harsh that was out to get them. More year-old were not allowed to go into a forest filled with deadly animal, poisonous plant, and various other dangers that could prematurely end their short lives. Geez, what kind of child would even go that far? Weiss asked. Most 2-year-old were not Naruto Uzumaki. There's you answer, Ice Queen. Weiss simply glared at the blonde bombshell. Ha! A small boy let out a shout of triumph as he ran a clearing of flowers and into a forest. His speed much faster than anything most people his age, or even adults, could hope to catch up with. The boy was small and he was thin, but he had an amount of muscle tone a child should not. Body lacked any of the fat that would be expected of a child. What kind of place did this child live in? Weiss questioned as the screen showed Naruto's physique. I don't know, but I'm not sure I want to go there. Jan commented. He moved like a blur across the plants. He wore a green long-sleeved shirt, and over that he had on a white shirt with a red spiral on his check. He wore black shorts and blue sandals. His hair was a golden blonde color, and his eyes were a bright blue. He had a peach-colored skin, and on each of his cheeks he had 3 animalistic whisker marks. He's a faunus? Blake questioned. Maybe? He jumped up over 10 feet into the air and grabbed onto the branch of a tree, smiling the entire way as he did so. He flipped up and put his feet on the tree, before he hopped off and jumped towards another tree. He hopped from tree to tree with practiced ease, moving through the forest with no trouble. Damn, he's pretty nimble for a 2-year-old. Yam said. It's impossible for a child his age to do anything like that. Weiss commented. I don't know, when Ruby had her first cookie she would run the house for hours before crashing. Tot only happened once, said girl cried out defiantly. 5 times. When he saw a wolf on the ground, he tossed a rock at the wolf, startling it away from its meal for a second, before it barked at Naruto. Naruto grinned and laughed at the wolf, before he jumped higher up, climbing up the tree until moments later, his head was sticking out of the top of the tree. That would be something you would do, young. Blake commented. What can I say, I'm a daredevil. He was surrounded for miles by forest, with a river running through the middle of the forest. A river that he knew was filled with fish. Oh? Naruto asked as he looked at what appeared to be the remains of a boat at the side of the river. He had never seen that before, so he would guess that it was something that happened within the last few days. It hadn't been long since he had last been in the forest, he would say, a few days. They saw the boat on the screen and found it oddly familiar. Why don't you check it out? Who was that? Ruby asked. That was weird. Wah! Naruto screamed in shock, as he lost his grip on the tree and started to fall down to the ground. He landed on his head with a hard thump, before yelping and holding onto it. The wolf seeming to find amusement in his pain. Naruto tossed a rock at the wolf and nailed it in its anus, the wolf yelping and running off to go, and dislodged the rock from its hind end. Naruto looked up at the tree, and he saw nothing there. Huh? Naruto asked as he looked around, before he looked in the direction the boat was in. So a guy popped up out of nowhere, scares the kid and just vanishes. Anyone else think that's weird? The blonde girl asked. She received all hand up. Oh good, I thought it was just me. He shrugged his shoulders, before he got up and dusted himself off. Looking in the direction, he started to make his way towards the crashed boat. He hopped back into the trees, jumping between the branches, startling birds that sat on them. He had a grin on his face the entire way. He noted mushrooms on the ground in several places, mushrooms that he knew he was able to eat from experience, not the ones that made his stomach hurt. Where are the adults that are supposed to be watching him? Weiss asked. Naruto stopped at the edge of the trees, several minutes later, when he came to the spot where he could see the boat. The boat was crashed, and there were wrecked parts of the ship everywhere. The wood was splintered in many places, and while the boat was in bad condition, a skilled worker would be able to make repairs to it so that it could sail again. Hey, doesn't that boat look familiar? Ruby asked. I've seen it somewhere before, Blake answered. But she didn't know where. What happened here? Naruto asked loudly, speaking to himself, when he saw lots of broken boxes filled with clothes, and strange crystals and jars of weird powder. What is a boat filled with dust, crystal, and dust doing in the middle of the woods? Weiss asked. How did a boat even get there was a question in her mind. Help somebody, father? Blake questioned, earning surprised look from the rest of the team. Wah! Naruto shouted out when he heard the sound of somebody calling out for help. The voice was weak, like it was from a person who didn't have much energy, or have just woken up. Naruto looked for the sound of the voice, but they didn't speak up. Who was that? Come on out! Naruto called out, almost demanding, creeped out by voices from people he couldn't see. Yeah, that makes sense. You hear something like that, you cannot help but feel creeped out. Yan commented. Over here. Naruto started to rush over to the sound of the voice, and he could see that the only place the voice could come from was from underneath a pile of wood. Naruto went over to the wood, and he peeked between the cracks. He could see a man and a woman underneath the wood. The man was pretty large, and he was using his body to shield the woman under him. He had wood stuck in several places on his body. His shoulders, the backs of his legs, and with one of the shards of wood going through his hand. He was a big man, with skin the same color as Naruto's own. He had pitch black hair, medium length and waved, and thin yellow eyes. He had a thick beard as well. He had on a purple overcoat, chest bare, with thick chest hair, and silver armor on his stomach and left shoulder. Underneath him was a woman that was injured, but not to the same extent as he was, since he had shielded her from damage. While the man seemed like he was 7 feet tall, the woman was about 5 feet 6 inches tall at most. She had olive pale skin, and she too black hair that was medium length. Her eyes were larger, but just as yellow as the man's eyes were. She wore a black jacket without a left sleeve, that exposed her own chest, which was covered by a white traditional top that exposed cleavage. Her jacket had a long right sleeve, and she had on 2 arm warners tied around her middle fingers. She had on black hakama pants, with white tabi socks, slits down each leg of the pants. Mom? Blake asked, worried for her parent well-being. Kid ears? Naruto asked as he looked at the 2 cat ears on her head, 2 golden piercings on the right ear, and 1 on the left ear. Oh, the way he said was so cute. Young. Go and get help, I don't have the strength to keep this up for much longer. No, try and drag Callie out, the man spoke as he struggled to remain on all fours above the woman, named Callie. He was dripping blood from several places, so more than likely the wreck just happened and he had just saved her life. Naruto looked at the woman and man. I've got you, Naruto said as he grabbed a piece of wood and threw it off of the pile. Naruto grabbed another piece, and continued to throw them off of the couple. Wow, I'm surprised he able to lift that much at all. Weiss said. Well, it did say that he had more muscle than fat. Ruby replied. Gaira, are you okay? Callie asked with a look at the boy helping them. She saw Gaira nod his head, though he was wincing when he did it. He had blood dripping off of him, so there was no way he was okay physically, but she knew that he was okay, so long as she was okay. Kid, can you go get help? Callie asked when she saw the young boy's feet, and she could see out of the cracks in the wood that he was tossing the wood off of the pile. At this rate, he would tire himself out, and they wouldn't be able to get out. She heard a louder bang as the surprisingly strong boy tossed a larger piece of wood off of the pile. Huh, you think he might be a long-lost brother of mine? Yan asked. It would make sense. Weiss replied. Nobody will help if I ask them. Naruto muttered for a brief moment, anger in his tone, before he smiled again as he started to help the people that were hurt. Don't worry, Naruto's on the job. Naruto shouted out loudly to them, pointing to his heart even if they couldn't see what he was doing. What did he mean that nobody would help him? Blake asked. She wondered if he was suffering racism because he was a faunus. But Noon had an answer. Callie blinked, and Gaira exchanged a look. Naruto as in fish cakes? Or Naruto, as in the rare type of oranges that were actually rather tasty? Well, either way his name would imply either the color white, or the color orange. Fish cake. Yum. The sister warned. Gaira winced when more weight was added to the pile. Reiya! Naruto screamed as he started to push the heaviest of the wood off of the pile. His gave a shout of pain when a nail cut into the palm of his hand, slicing across it. Naruto didn't give up, and he hit his shoulder against the wood. He used all of his not very much weight, and slammed himself into the wood. He pushed it a little, but not off of the pile all of the way. Damn, I would be surprised if the kid was able to move that piece all on his own. As strong as he is, it's impossible to do so. Weiss added. He has to do something. Blake about her parent well-being. Naruto jumped off of the pile, before he started to run away. What? Team RWBY shouted. Did that kid just leave a couple to die? Callie watched his feet running towards the forest. He left. Callie whispered to Gaira with a sad look in her eyes. They both froze when they heard the roar of a bear, and a large bear if the deepness of the roar was anything to go by. Callie, Gaira didn't have a crack nearby he could peek through, saw Naruto's feet running towards them with an angry bear's paws chasing after the small child. Naruto jumped over the pile of wood, while the bear tried to jump over the wood, and smashed through it. The entire stack of wood knocked off of Gaira as several hundred pounds barreled through it. He didn't leave them, he was planning. Weiss said in astonishment. She blaked breath out in relief. Even I wouldn't have thought of that. Yang said. Me neither. I'm glad they're all safe. Ha! Come and get me, dumb bear. Naruto turned around and spanked his butt, getting the attention of the bear away from Callie and Gaira. Gaira rolled off of Callie, and she sat up and watched in shock as Naruto taunted the bear into chasing him into the woods. Naruto jumped into the thickness of the woods, and the bear chased after him. Ah, sure, he'll be fine. Yang said. He has a fully grown bear chasing after him, and you're okay with that? Weiss replied in disbelief in her teammate's tone. The kid's able to run faster than a bear. Kid! Callie called out with worry in her voice. The kid was in danger because he tried to help them. They had to do something. Gaira got up to his feet, and prepared to go chase down the bear and Naruto, before he groaned and fell down onto his butt. Light-headed from a lack of energy, lack of food, and a little from how much blood he had lost adding into it all. The howls of a wolf could be heard, and the roar of a bear was heard as well. Naruto came running back towards them, a grin on his face as he got to them. Bear no longer on his trail as he stopped in front of them. See? That doesn't, you shouldn't be worried about him. You're okay, thank you for freeing us. Oh, you're a faunus like us. Gaira, he's a faunus. What kind of faunus are you? Callie asked Naruto with a small smile on her face. She could guess what Naruto had done. He had led the bear into a pack of wolves, and then with those jumping skills she had seen him do, he had escaped while the bear and wolves got into it. He had quite the trickster's mind. Eh? Come on with me, I'll get you something to eat. I found some mushroom a while back, we can grab them and then go to my home. Naruto grabbed onto Gaira and Callie's hands and pulled them. Callie stood up, and with her assistance Gaira was able to stand up as well, his larger frame supported by her much smaller frame and a surprising amount of strength from Callie's thin form. Oh, what's a faunus? Naruto asked a moment later, and Callie blinked in surprise. What? Was the entire team's question. A child doesn't even know what a faunus is? Weiss questioned. She looked at Gaira, who was just as surprised as she was. The boy was clearly a faunus like the two of them were. He had the whisker marks of a cat or a fox, he had the facial structure of a fox, and he had the eyes of an animal as well. The boy had the personality of a cat or fox, and he had the smell of an animal as well like they had. How could he not notice that? Kid must have been really sheltered if doesn't he know about faunus. No, there's more to this. Blake thought. He walked in front of them, since they weren't able to jump like him at the moment. Lots of adults couldn't catch him in speed or jumping ability after he had pulled off a prank or two. A faunus is what you are. Your parents never told you? Gaira asked with a raised eyebrow. The boy was seemingly 2 years old. There was no way his parents hadn't told him about his heritage. I don't have a mommy or daddy. Naruto whispered after a few moments of silence. My god. Oh no, poor kid. These were the comments the team had when they heard this. Gaira suddenly felt like a piece of shit for stepping on that landmine. Callie's ears drooped lower as she thought of such a cheerful boy not having parents. She reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. She wanted to comfort the boy a little. Mom always had a soft spot for little kids. Blake commented. But her tone was full of nostalgia. You must have been raised by some human relatives. One of your parents might have been human then. Callie spoke, trying to make sense of why he was alone. He had to be raised by somebody. The boy spoke better than any young child she had ever seen, his sentences complete in structure, and they spoke well of his thoughts. Gaira looked at the boy with pity. I've always been alone. I don't have a family. Oh, the mushrooms! Naruto shouted as he took off the top layer of his shirt and ran towards mushrooms on the ground. He started to pick them, and he tied off the bottom of his shirt and used it as a makeshift bag to carry the mushrooms in. He picked each and every mushroom on the ground before he slung the shirt over his shoulder, mushrooms inside. So lady, what's a faunus? Naruto asked again, since he never got his question answer. The kid was talking about him being alone, and he just changes the subject to mushrooms. What the hell? Yang exclaimed. Naruto must have went through a lot. He obviously doesn't want to talk about it. Weiss explained. Gaira took in a breath. Faunus are people like us, who have animal traits. Like Callie with her cat ears, or myself with my never mind that. You have your whisker marks, we have animal in our DNA, you could say DNA as in it's in our body. Gaira realized he might have spoke too smart for a child to understand, so he dumbed down what he said. Naruto tilted his head, before he looked back at them. Huh? Naruto asked, still not understanding them. Oh my god, he looks so adorable. Weiss was the first to comment. She couldn't help but look crude at the confused look the kid had. He looked just like Zwei. Ruby added, we're animal-like people. Callie simplified it as much as possible without being offensive to her own species. They were animal people, though they hated being treated like animals. Callie continued to walk behind Naruto, before he turned around and walked backwards, looking at Callie and Gaira with a smile that broke their hearts. A child with no family, smiling at them with such purity, was something that they could never forget. That's so cool. Do you like mushroom soup? I like it, and I love ramen. Do you like ramen? Naruto asked with his head tilting further, the smile never leaving his face. People were talking nicely to him. Of course he was happy. That's nice for him. He must have had a lot of good talk with the adults back at home. Yang added, ramen tastes good, but I'm not a fan of mushrooms. Gaira spoke out his preferences. Callie nudged him when she saw Naruto look down. He was gathering the mushrooms for them to eat after all. Of course, if you make it I'm sure it will be tasty. Gaira corrected himself, and his wife gave him a look of approval for his correction. Oh, your dad's in the cat house now, Yang. The teen groaned out from the blonde's joke. What, that was a good one? She complained. No need to make the kid feel bad. So, where are you from? I'm from the Hidden Leaf Village, we'll be there in a few minutes. Naruto brought up, since he didn't really recognize their clothes. Hidden Leaf Village, that's Callie looked at Gaira, who was shaking his head in confusion. He had never heard of such a place either, not to mention he had yet to see a single Grimm around. They should have come across one by now. Naruto didn't know or understand what a faunus was, which was strange in its own right. Did that man do something to us? Callie whispered to Gaira. Gaira nodded his head. They had allowed an odd man to get on their boat, and during their sail to Vale, they had come across a strange storm. The storm had been tough, so tough that they barely noticed when their boat crashed and a flash of light made their vision leave them for a moment. Now they were here. So let me see if I got this straight. They were supposed to go to Vale, but some old guy appeared and they somehow ended up there. Yang listed. Out. Seems like it. Have you heard of a village like that before? Weiss asked. Not that I know of. Must be a new settlement somewhere in Remnant. Blake replied. Then how are they gonna get back home? Ruby asked. The rest of the team couldn't find an answer and hope it would show in the story. We are from Menagerie. We are on a trip to Vale. Gaira spoke. Callie stopped walking. Her eyes widened in astonishment when she saw a beautiful side. Gaira stopped as well, and his own eyes widened. They were stopped in front of a village so large that it stretched on for miles, and it was surrounded by a huge wall. There were thousands upon thousands of buildings, and the city was blended in with nature. Wow, it's amazing. Ruby said in astonishment. How in the world did they manage to hide this from the rest of the world? Weiss asked. Well, it is called the Hidden Leaf for a reason. Yang commented. The heiress couldn't help agree to that statement. This is my special spot. This is the Hokage Monument. Naruto said after a moment, and he tapped the ground with his foot. Ah, it's so cute when they try to say big word. Weiss cooed. The other silently agreed. Callie gasped when she saw that they were standing on top of four heads carved into the side of a mountain. Gaira was stunned at the beauty of the village. The forest behind the mountain was so close to the village. Naruto started to walk to a staircase that would lead them down the mountain, and they joined him. It's so beautiful. Gaira muttered when he saw the sights before him. Callie had no words to describe it. They followed Naruto all the way to the bottom of the stairs. They didn't say a word to him. He was just happily humming as they walked past people. The people gave them looks of confusion as they passed by. Callie noted that she only passed by humans, not a single faunus around them. The people gave her catters a strange look, but only briefly. It's the boy, the monster. An elderly woman whispered to another elderly woman, their gossip loud enough for them to hear. That woman is quite beautiful. What is she doing with the fox child? The woman whispered back. What the hell? These people are acting as if the kid killed their family and got away with it. Yang stated angered when she heard those women talk. I guess racism there is not so different across the rest of Remnant. Okay, Callie was confused now. This didn't sound like racism to her. Those weren't the words of a faunus hater. Gaira was just as confused as she was, but at the same time, he He believed that maybe people were assuming that Callie's ears were fake, seeing as she also had human ears at the sides of her head. It's like they hate him. Callie thought when she noticed Naruto's smile turn upside down when they passed by more people. They either ignore him, or they glare at him with such intense hatred. The boy has been nothing but helpful to us. Who could curse such an innocent child? Gaira questioned the actions of those around him. This was an odd case in his mind. The people clearly didn't hate himself or Callie. They were confused and suspicious why they were with Naruto, but they weren't showing any hate towards them. One of the people even approached them, stopping in front of Naruto, and blocking their path. Listen, you two must be new. You are going to want to avoid the boy. Just a friendly warning. He's just a child. Blake yelled. What is wrong with these people? Yang commented. Have you noticed not a single person in that village has a faunus trait? Weiss pointed out. The rest of RWBY agreed when they saw this. The person advised them, and Callie looked purely offended by what the man said. She would have told him off then and there, if he didn't turn and walk away from them at that moment. She would have chased after him to give him a piece of her mind, but she had to support Gaira seeing as he couldn't move very well. I would have let Mom have a go. Blake muttered. Naruto looked down at the ground, before he turned his head. Callie placed a hand down on his head. Don't listen to them, you're a good boy. If I had a child, I wish they could be just like you. Callie praised Naruto, and he gave her a brilliant smile that she had never seen before. This wasn't a happy smile, this was the smile of a person, who for the first time in their life, had received a kind word from others. What kind of life did he live? Not a kind I want to. What's going to happen to him? Ruby asked. The rest of the team wondered as well. Callie sent Gaira a look and she pointed her finger at Naruto's smile as he turned around, and with a skip in his step led them to his home. Let's go! Naruto shouted out as he walked faster towards where his apartment was. Several minutes later, this is a home. Gaira thought as Callie helped him up the steps to the top of an apartment building that had a small addition to it. It was the only apartment on the floor they were on. It was clearly added onto the building recently, and didn't match the rest of the building. It was like it was built just for Naruto to isolate him from everyone else. They treat the boy like a criminal and outcast. What's worse, I haven't seen a single faunus. I'm sure the boy would have been adopted if there was another faunus. Gaira thought to himself, while Naruto opened the door. And he lived there all by himself? Yan was shocked to see the kind of building a 2-year-old lives in. Not a single adult watches over him. Blake added, well, at least he doesn't have to worry about any rule. Ruby said, trying to find a brighter side to this. It didn't really brighten their day hearing this. The apartment was modest, they could see that much as they walked inside. Naruto took his shoes off at the door, so Callie slipped her sandals off, and Gaira did the same, as they walked into his apartment. Naruto went right to a portable water boiler with a pot on it, and he turned it on so that he could boil the water inside of it. Naruto started to put mushrooms in the water with a smile on his face. I'll get you both back up to full health, I promise. Naruto declared as he gave them a thumbs up. And yet he can still smile even with all that going on with him. Weiss commented. Callie helped Gaira sit down, before she sat down nearby and looked at Naruto. Her hand went to her stomach for a second, and she gave Gaira a longing look, and she directed that look at Naruto, so let him know. Callie, you can't be thinking. Gaira was stopped when Callie rushed over to Naruto, and she scooped him up in a big hug. In all honesty, I would have done it too if I were her. Blake said. What? Ruby asked, a little confused on what the mother did. Same here. Yang added, as would I. Weiss agreed, earning a shocked look from the team. What? Wait, what are you guys talking about? Ruby asked. But instead of an answer she continued on with the book. Gaira palmed his face. He approved of what Callie was doing. She was the most compassionate person that he knew, other than this boy he just met. She was going to adopt the child into their growing family, and then when they met with the man who sent them to wherever this was, she was going to take Naruto with them back to their room. She was going to give this boy the family he deserved, and in 10 years from now the boy wouldn't even remember a time when he was alone. Children often forgot what their lives were like when they were 2 years old. She wanted to convince this boy, loathed by his home, to sneak away and come with them, and join their family. Oh, that's what she's doing? Ruby questioned. Yes, you dolt. Why wouldn't she? Weiss yelled. Ruby looked a bit sheepish for not figuring out quickly. You know, I could be your mommy. Gaira could be your daddy and my future daughter. Callie started. Son, we are having a boy and his name will be Blake. Gaira corrected her. They didn't know the gender of the child in Callie's stomach, but Gaira was betting on boy. He had already decided the name, and everything. Callie sent him a quick hiss, before she snuggled Naruto's face against her own. Wait, if this was before you were born, then maybe. Yang pondered. Daughter will be your little sister. We will take you away to our home, and we can be a family. Do you want to join our family? Callie asked Naruto as she held him close to herself. Wait, hold second, this was before you were born. Yang realized. So if he says yes, you might get an older brother. Weiss added. Blake staring at the screen with an anxious gaze. You think he'll say yes? Ruby asked, getting a bit worried. We won't know until you keep reading. Weiss replied. Well, sorry for being too into the story. Ruby bit back as she returned to the book. At first, when she met the boy, she was thankful to him. She felt sad for him when she learned that he had no family to call his own, but when she saw that his village hated him just for being different, she knew what she had to do something. She imagined what it would be like if her unborn child were to be in Naruto's situation, and it broke her heart. She couldn't find it in her heart to not adopt the little boy so desperately seeking approval and love. Naruto was just stunned, and he looked at Gaira, who nodded his head. I agree with Callie, and I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror if I didn't help you. You are a good boy, and you need a loving family. We already have a child on the way. We can give you the love you deserve. I would be happy to call you my son, so what do you say? Gaira asked Naruto, wanting to hear it from the boy's own lips. The members of Team RWBY each waited with anticipation. Naruto just blinked in shock. His shock changed into anger. His anger changed into sadness. Finally, his sadness changed into pure joy as he returned Callie's hug at full force. Phew. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. Thank Yang said. That was killing me back there. You said it? Ruby commented. Congrat Blake, you get an older brother, she said in a squeal. You hear that the full range of emotions on his face had been a surprise for Gaira, but he could understand where Naruto's emotions were coming from. Naruto was shocked that somebody was willing to love him, angry that it took somebody from outside his home village to love him, sadness when he realized that only somebody not from his home would love him, and finally happiness that he now had somebody willing to love him. Perfect. Well, now that you are a happy family, I'd better send you back to your home. Who the hell was that? Yang shouted. You! Gaira shouted when he saw the man that had sent them to this place in the first place. The man was sitting in the middle of the table, having appeared out of thin air. There was a flash of light, and the man was gone. Is that a semblance? The Sai thus questioned, receiving no reply. When the light was gone, Gaira looked around and saw that he was back in his living room. Not only that, but both Callie and Naruto were nearby as well, both of them still wrapped up in an embrace. Only the two of them were asleep, as if the light had knocked them out, and on the nearby couch. Gaira looked at, saw that there was a note on the table, so picking it up, he read it. Thank you Gaira, Callie, for becoming Naruto's family. We are sure that you will be great for him. On the table is a scroll for him when he becomes of age. Signed, the man with 10 tails and the silent kind of the underworld. P.S. Fill Naruto's heart with love, it is the secret to unlocking his untapped power. So the same guy that brought them there, did it on purpose? He must have known about Naruto longest and figure my family can take care of him. Blake theorized. At least they're all safe. Weiss added. Not mention you're getting an older brother. Ruby shouted with joy. Blake couldn't help but feel both envious and happy for her other's family. Happy because her other might have a happier life than she did, and envious because she always wanted a sibling so didn't feel so alone. Well, who wants to go next? Chapter 2, A Better Childhood. Son, huh? Callie, no. Gaira stated as he looked at his wife while he sat at his desk, working on paperwork. He and Callie hadn't aged, or even changed the outfits designs that they wore, for over 4 years. It had been a good life for them. Gaira had not only been declared the chief of menagerie, but he was taking his duties as the leader of the White Fang very seriously. Naruto had been a great addition to their family of 2, which evolved into a family of 4 very quickly. I guess you was really hoping for a boy, huh? Yang questioned. It's understandable. Weiss commented. A lot of mothers would always wanted a daughter instead son, such like a father and vice versa. Callie, yes? Callie stated. She had been holding the fact that she had a daughter, who they lovingly named Blake, over his head for the last few years. Whenever she got the chance to bring up the fact that she was right, and he was wrong, she took it. Like the fact that Naruto was playing with Blake as they were speaking. Blake was a small child, with her baby fat still on her body for the most part. She wasn't a fat girl, but she didn't have the body that Naruto had when he was her age or younger. Naruto was the weird one there, having a lean, toned body at the age of 2 was not normal in any definition of the word. Blake had her mother's looks, almost exactly to the dot. She had her skin, her facial features, though Blake's eyes were more narrow, like her father's eyes, and she even took on a combination of their color schemes. Blake had her mother's cat ears, and had chin-length black hair. Technically most of her looks came from both of her parents. Oh. My. Yang said slowly. Baby Blake. She shouted. Yang. Said girl complained. This was something she didn't want her friend to see. She is so adorable. Ruby commented. Weiss didn't say anything, instead of picturing herself petting baby Blake by the ear. Hearing a playful purr from the baby girl. Blake shouted, wishing this was over already. Botha. Blake was nuzzling the top of her head up against Naruto's chin, scratching her head on his chin, right between her cat ears. She still had trouble with the letter R, so a lot of her words were a little harder to understand for everyone but her family, and those used to the cries of small children. 1. Blake continued her nuzzling. Ah. The 3 of Team RWBY said out loud. All Blake wanted to do was crawl in a hole and die. Look at little Blake playing with her big brother. Yang commented. Blake couldn't but feel both embarrassed and envious of how her other's life is compared to her so far. Gaira couldn't help but smile at his children playing. He liked that Blake loved her big brother so dearly. If Naruto did something, Blake tried her hardest to copy him. If he ate ramen, she tried to eat ramen. If he ate fish, she ate fish. If he took a bath, then you better believe that she wanted to join him for that bath. She just wanted to be like her big brother. Yang teased. Why can't you do that? She asked her sister. Because there can only be one Yang? Ruby answered. She honestly didn't want to make bad jokes like her sister. Good answer. So adorable. Callie gushed as she squirmed in place on the couch. Nothing brought her more happiness than seeing her children getting along, and playing with each other. Well, she enjoyed it even more when she was playing with them as well. Times like this made her glad to be a stay-at-home mother. She always got to be with her little angels, while Gyra took care of the White Fang. Blake showed interest in joining the White Fang, while Naruto showed more interest in becoming a warrior. It was strange at first, having a son that was capable of taking care of himself, but she got herself used to it, and she got Naruto used to allowing an adult to take care of him as well. Mom, Blake wants to go on a run. Naruto told them. It was an activity he and Blake often did together. She would get on his back, and he would jump from building rooftop to rooftop. She enjoyed it, though she was a little scared at first, and as time went on she wanted to go on daily runs. Having a brother who had an abnormal body that could do some pretty amazing feats was cool for her. Isn't that a bit danger for someone their age? Weiss asked. Her brother was able to outrun a bear in the wood with any problem. I don't see this as any. Yang answered. She's got a point. Blake added. If her other's brother was able to do all these things without getting hurt, there's not much to worry about in her safety. Have fun. Gyra spoke for Callie without a care. The people of Menagerie were mostly good. 2 children going out and playing without adult supervision was much safer than it would be in place like Mistral or Vale. Wah! Blake cried out with joy as she jumped on top of Naruto's back and held onto him tightly. He wrapped his arms underneath her little legs, and he started to run towards the window that would lead to the nearest house to them. They got closer to the window, passing by Callie, whose smile was brighter than ever, and Gyra, who couldn't help but chuckle as he watched 2 hyper children run to go have fun together. Play Gold by Casey Lee and Jeff Williams. This song fits Naruto too well. Oh, play that song quick. Ruby exclaimed. Wanting to hear how the song will go with the story, Naruto jumped out of the window with Blake screaming in joy on his back. They sailed through the air together, the 2 of them having a joyous amount of fun together. Naruto landed on the house of their nearest neighbors, running across the roof before he hopped off into the air, and landed, running closer towards the next roof, before he repeated the process. Blake was kicking her legs as she appreciated the wind rushing across her face. The faunus below looking up at them waved up at them passing by. Guess you 2 are pretty well known. Ruby commented, bobbing her head with the music. Blake wanted to tell them the real reason but held it in until later. Blake covered her face with her hands, shyly looking away from all of the people. Faunus below laughed at how cute she was being, while Naruto happily smiled at all of the people below. He even waved at a few of them as he passed by. I'll look at little Blakey getting all shy. Yang commented, earning thrown pillow to the face. Naruto's hand reached back to Blake and rubbed the top of her head as he ran, and she opened her eyes, and uncovered them. She smiled when she saw him smiling at her, the sun behind his head, making his hair light up like gold. Blake smiled at the scene, wondering when she smiled like that when she was a kid. Several years later, keep that music playing. A few years older, Naruto stood taller and wore a simple black shirt with an orange stripe down it, a purple bandana over his head, with white pants on. He had grown taller than before, and he rushed across the rooftops with Blake holding onto his back. She was smiling and enjoying herself, having grown up to become bigger than she used to be. She was wearing a black child skirt with a ruffled skirt on in white, and she had a bow attached to right cat ear, tied up to look pretty. Naruto flipped off of the rooftop, with Blake shouting out in surprise as they landed on the ground, and he continued to run with her. They ran through the shopping district, and one of the vendors that knew them tossed Naruto 2 cones of ice cream. He caught them, with Blake holding onto him, before he gave one of them to her. He kept running, and with one hand she held onto the ice cream, the other hand holding onto him. She licked her ice cream, before she dropped it on the ground. No! The ice cream! Ruby screamed before dropping to her knees. It was innocent, Ruby said dramatically. Weiss gave the red huntress a look before turning to her sister. She gets worse if was a cookie. Yang simply added, already used to her sister's antics. Naruto tapped his ice cream against her nose the second her face became sad, and he gave his ice cream to her with a wide grin on his face. She smiled back at him as she enjoyed not only her ice cream, but her brother, and the sea air running across her face. 3 of Team RWBY could seeing this happen. Blake couldn't help but felt jealous at their display. Several years later, music, keep it playing. Blake ran behind Naruto, and Naruto slowed down so that he was only a little ahead of her. They were dodging the people that were around them, the people going about their lives as if the 2 children weren't playing around. Some of them adults smiled, and others waved at them who knew them to be regulars in the area. Look at that brother and sister training together. Yang commented. Why didn't you ask if we could train together? Because the last time that happened we broke a hole in a wall in our own house. Ruby deadpanned. That only happened once. 4 times. Ruby argued, to which Yang grimaced at the fact. Blake had grown out of her old clothes, and had adopted a soft purple shirt with black pants. Her hair was cut short to her shoulders. She wore a band around her arm, and she had even adopted Naruto's old headband that he wore when he was a few years younger. Only she wore it as a cloth that she had around her left cat ear. Naruto had grown into an orange t-shirt with a black jacket over it, short sleeves, with a purple band around his arm. He wore white shorts, with black tights underneath them. He stood more than a head above Blake, and he was grinning at her. Naruto hopped up onto the nearest roof and continued to run as Blake jumped up onto boxes, and she would jump from box to box as she tried to catch up with Naruto. When she got to the roof, she saw him running backwards. She started to run towards the edge of the roof, and she jumped when she got to the end of it. She screamed in shock when she did not jump far enough to clear the roof. She looked down towards the ground. "I'm sure your brother got you," Ruby said. Naruto grabbed her hand, hanging off of the side of the roof with a grin on his face. She looked up at him, the sun like always shining behind him, giving his grin and hair a golden glow. She smiled up at him as he started to pull her back up to the roof. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to be pulled up. "See?" Ruby pointed out. "Yes, Ruby, but nobody disagreed with you in the first place," Weiss replied back, earning a pout from the little sister. Several years later, "Don't stop that music." Naruto jumped across the rooftop with his ever-present smile on his face, running backwards and flipping as he watched Blake behind him. He had grown even larger, now wearing a white shirt with a black jacket and orange pants. He had his ears pierced, with 2 gold studs coming out of the top of his right ear, and with a single golden stud coming from his left ear, just like their mother's ears were pierced. "Wow, your brother's got style," Yang commented. "Thank you?" Blake said hesitantly, mentally hoping the Yang in the story doesn't try to hit on her brother if they ever meet. Blake jumped as she followed after him, flying through the air as she jumped from one rooftop, and Naruto smiled at her with pride when he saw her land on the rooftop he was on. He flipped onto a different one, and Blake ran across it and jumped towards him. The two of them played a game where she was trying to catch him. Blake had matured as well. Her body had slimmed down, now in her early teens. She had started to bud as a teen, now sporting budding breasts, with her hips starting to develop as well. She wore a black jacket that covered her developing body. She was shy about how she was developing, and long white, baggy pants as well. Her long hair was tied up with an orange ribbon that she got from him, trailing in the wind behind her as she chased behind him. Naruto flipped off of the rooftop and landed on the ground. He started to run, and he passed by a fruit stand. Naruto swiped an apple from it, and he gave the owner a salute as he passed by. Blake ran after him, and she turned around and started to run backwards. She grabbed an apple of her own, before she tossed some lean on the counter, never losing her smile even as she gave the owner an apologetic bow. She turned around, and took a bite of the apple as she returned to giving chase to her brother. "Is that how you usually trained?" Yang asked. "Not really, most of the stuff was self-taught. The rest came after I left home," Blake said glumly, making a mental note to see her family after his story was over and make sure to apologize to them. "I wonder what's it going to be like when we meet him," Ruby commented. The two of them stared to run towards the docks, with Blake seeing that she was cornering Naruto. When Naruto stopped, she started to slow down her running, and she saw him standing there with apple in mouth. She stopped in front of him with a smile. Blake couldn't help feel a pit of jealousy when she saw her other have such a happy life. Several years later, music. "Keep it playing." Naruto stood in front of his family as he stood a little taller than his mother, Blake having caught up to their mother in height. Naruto wore a black jacket with long sleeves. The jacket was unzipped to reveal that he was not wearing a shirt underneath it. Instead, he had white bandages wrapped around his stomach for no reason other than for fashion. Naruto wore purple pants that were cut off at his shins, and he had an orange scarf around his neck with a red spiral design on part of it hanging off his shoulder. "Wow, your brother's all grown up." Yang admiring Naruto attire. "Yang, please stop hitting on my brother," Blake complained. "There's nothing wrong with a little widow shopping," the blonde said back. "It is, when it's my own brother," Blake argued. "Well, he's adopted really, so you might have a shot in it too," Yang said. Blake took a few seconds to think it over as it reminded her of a volume from her book Ninjas in Love, but she quickly banished the thoughts and instead gave her partner a silent glare. Blake had matured, her face no longer chubby, but angled now. She wore a white top with no sleeves on, and she had on a black scarf around her neck. Around her waist was a small bit of cloth with frills on it. Like her brother and father, she had her stomach revealed. She wore a black arm warmer over her left arm, and had black ribbons on both of her wrists, wrapped tightly. She had on white shorts with zippers on the front of the blacks, and long black and purple stockings with her own symbol. Her hair was done up with an orange ribbon in it, in a ponytail, and her budding breasts had fully formed, along with her body generally becoming very womanly. "Nice look, Blake," Ruby said Hunter's smile and continued her attention at the story. Callie smiled as she walked up to her son, and she gave him a hug with tears in her eyes. She wrapped her arms around his shoulders, before she backed off a little. She smiled at him, before she kissed him on the cheek, and took a step back. Gaira placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder and nodded to him, smiling as he pulled his son into a firm hug. Naruto returning the hug with a grin. As the two men let go, Gaira gave his son an appraising eye, before he gave Naruto a light punch to the shoulder. Naruto grinned and returned the punch. "Look like your brother leaving for some reason," Yang commented. Well, it doesn't look like he's leaving in a bad way. Ruby added. Maybe he becoming a hunter? Y suggested. Blake didn't make her comment for she knew that there would be an explanation later on in the story. But that didn't mean she felt sad seeing him go. Blake had tears in her eyes as she looked at her brother, crying silently as she looked unsure about everything. Naruto smiled at her, and she looked at his smile, the sun shining brightly behind him, making him glow gold to her. Naruto wiped her tears from her cheeks, and he leaned forward and smiled at her. He kissed her forehead before he wrapped her up in a tight hug. She returned the hug and she gave it her all, showing all of the love that she could with one hug. Ah! The girl minus Blake cooed. It was a very heart-warming scene. Gaira wrapped an arm around Callie, the two of them watching with smiles. When Naruto let go, Blake refused to let go at first. Blake didn't want her big brother to leave. Yang okayed. You'd the same thing if you had a brother like him. Blake bit back. Naruto's smile became softer, as he let her hug him longer. When Blake let go, he pushed her away a little so that she could see his face. Naruto touched her cheek, and he gave her his grin. She returned it with her own smile. She pulled her orange ribbon out of her hair, before she tied it to his belt. She looked at the ribbon he gave to her hanging as a bow from his belt, and she smiled at him. Naruto rubbed the top of her hair, before he turned around and started to walk onto the boat. He stopped, before he turned around and he balled up his fist. Naruto placed his fist over Blake's heart, and she smiled when she understood his meaning. I didn't get it. Ruby said out loud. It meant he would always be there whenever I need him. Right here. Blake answered pointing at her own heart. Rubio. The boat's horn went off, and Naruto freaked out, before he ran to get onto the boat, barely making it. The girls couldn't help but laugh at how Naruto almost forgot about the boat. Callie and Gaira placed their hands on Blake's shoulders as they all watched Naruto on the boat. The boat left the docks moments later. Well, that was nice. Guess we'll see what Naruto going to do now. Weiss said, closing the book. Blake, you okay? Yan asked. She noticed a solemn look on her partner's face. Huh. Yeah, I'm fine. Blake said, but in reality she was a bit melancholic on this chapter. Wondering how different her life will be if Naruto was really a part of her life. Well, who wants to go next? Ruby asked. Chapter 3, My Turn. Yan voice out. Weiss handed the book to her, and got comfortable in her seat. Now let's see where we were last off. I hear we are thief to friend, so this is the world out of menagerie. Naruto thought as he walked through the streets of the kingdom of Vale. At 17 years old, and after being named by his father as the next in line for the chief position, Naruto had decided that he needed more world experience. So he chose to go out on a journey to explore the world around him, see the sights, take in the world itself, see the other kingdoms, and go to other villages to prepare him and give him the insight it would take to become the best leader for his people that he could be. It had been hard for him to say goodbye to his family, for the moment, but he knew that it was something he would have to do at some point. It was something he needed to do. You see, there was a reason why he left out. Why Young commented. I guess it makes sense all that time in TH village, and he's never went out to see more of the world. Weiss added. Blake all in all was glad that was the case. She was a bit worried Naruto joined up with the White Fang in secret. Naruto took out his wallet, and opened it up to see how much he had on him after he had paid for a meal on the ship. Meals had not been included in the ticket cost sadly, so he had to make sure that he had enough to stay at an inn for the night. Naruto opened up his wallet, and saw with a grin on his face that he had plenty. He had been saving up his allowance for years in preparation for this journey, so he had plenty saved up for it. You know, I don't think it's a good idea to showcase your money out in the open, Weiss said. Come on, I'm sure Naruto's got this. Ruby argued. Who can I? A young girl walked around the docks as she looked at the people that were coming off of the ships. She had a slight curious look on her face, observing all of the people that she could see. Her skin was a chocolate mocha color, and she stood at about 5 feet 6 inches in height. Her body was thin, both from her being slightly underfed, and her being physically fit. She had a petite frame, but she was well endowed in the chest and butt, though more so the butt. She wore a very revealing white strap top that covered half of her breasts, and revealed all of her stomach and shoulders. She also wore green pants that cut off at her shins, and brown chaps, with 2 guns on her back. Wait a minute, isn't that? It's Emerald. Ruby shouted. This must be before she came to Beacon. But didn't she say she was in Haven? Blake questioned. Oh, that is one full wallet. She thought when she looked with her keen red eyes at the man whose wallet was stuffed with lean. She took her long, mint green hair, and tied it in a low ponytail behind her head with a red tie. She stayed a healthy distance from him as she watched him with his wallet. On my arm, Emerald is going to rob your brother. Yang said in shock. What? No, Emerald looks like a nice girl. Ruby said in a tone of innocence. Yang could only shake her head when seeing how badly she wanted to see the good in people. Okay, I need to find an inn, and buy a backpack and some supplies. Naruto said as he looked around. He didn't know the city too well, so he looked around for somebody that seemed like they would know where an inn that he could stay at was. Hey, do you know where I could find an inn? Naruto stopped a sailor, and the man shrugged off his question and continued to do what he was doing previously. Naruto twitched in annoyance, before he sighed and rubbed the back of his head. The girl looking at Naruto cracked her wrists, before she loosened her body up. When she saw Naruto put his wallet in his back pocket, she smiled sinisterly to herself. She ran forward. "Look out!" she shouted as she slammed into Naruto was knocked him onto the ground, on his stomach. Very quickly, she placed her hand in front of her stomach. Her stomach pressed up against his butt, and she slipped her finger into his pocket and swiped his wallet out. They stumbled a little, and in that stumble the girl placed Naruto's wallet into her cleavage. She rolled off of him and onto the dirty next to him. "Oh, she's good," Yang commented. "Great, not even a day in and my brother's gets robbed." Blake complained. "I'm sure she'll give him back his money," Ruby said with a hopeful tone. "On my face." Naruto rubbed his nose, which had hit the concrete rather hard. He rubbed his nose before he grinned. "No harm done. I am so sorry. I'm late for my job, so I was running. I didn't even notice you there. I am so sorry that I knocked you over." The girl maid went over to Naruto on her knees and placed a hand on his shoulder. She had a look of almost genuine concern on her face, so convincing that not even Naruto could notice how she was faking concern. "I'm sorry." She paused as she hinted at him for his name. She wanted the name of the sucker she just stole a lot of money from. She would eat well for over a month no doubt, and have enough to have a place to stay for the same amount of time, with the amount she stole from him. So not only is she a thief but she's also a bragging thief. Blake said, not liking this emerald any more than she should. "It could be worse," Yang said. "I'm afraid to ask, but how?" "She could be trying to kill him," Yang said with a straight face. The rest of the team couldn't help but look at the blonde in a state of shock of how calm she said it. "Naruto, you, belladonna." Naruto introduced himself. "No harm done, I'm pretty tough. Thanks for the concern. Sorry if I made you late for your job." Naruto apologized as well. He pat the dirt off of his clothes, before he stood up and dusted his rear off as well. He offered the girl a hand to stand up, and she gladly took his hand. So he still kept his other last name," Blake said. "It made sense. He was born with that last name. It would be a waste to get rid of it." "Emerald, I'm sure my boss will understand." "What does the U stand for?" Emerald asked, just to be friendly and drop his guard lower. She wanted to make her escape as smooth as possible, and that meant not raising any suspicious feelings from him. Curiosity was key. "Oh, it stands for Uzumaki. When I changed my last name to Belladonna, I couldn't just get rid of Uzumaki. So I decided to change my middle name to Uzumaki instead. After all, who has two last names?" Naruto asked with a laugh at his own joke. Emerald gave a small laugh as well, unsure what kind of joke he was trying to make. She had heard of a few people with multiple last names. There was a professor at Signal that she stole from once. She so got his wallet, with the last name of Xiaolong. "I'm sorry, what?" Yang questioned. "Wait, didn't Dad say a few years ago that some girl stole his wallet?" Ruby asked. "Oh, Yang said, realizing the same Emerald was at their school. "You mean we have a kleptomaniac living in our same school?" Weiss questioned in shock. She made a self-note to check on Emerald's name when they get back. "We won't know what to do next until we get out," Blake added, wanting to know what her brother tend to do now. "Well, I'll be off then. It was a pleasure meeting you, Naruto." Emerald waved goodbye to him, and when she turned to face away from him she smirked to herself, sticking her tongue out as if she had once the greatest victory of her life. She discreetly took the wallet from his cleavage and she opened it up. She took out all of the lean cards in it, before she stuffed those back into her cleavage. She would drop his wallet somewhere he would find it, without him blaming her for stealing it. That way nobody would be able to track it back to her, or rather, it wasn't like a broke man could pay somebody to track down who stole his money. She seems nice but too, Naruto thought as he looked at the way her jeans conformed to fit the shape of her rear end. She had a gentle curve, a nice bubble to it, without it being too big, or too flat either. She also has dash. Is it me or is your brother hitting on Emerald?" Yang asked in deadpan. "Ugh, this is so embarrassing," Blake lamented, not liking the of her brother having Emerald as a potential girlfriend. "I think it could be sweet," Ruby said, trying to find the brighter side of things. "Hey you! I saw that, shit!" Emerald cursed when she saw a cop that was coming towards her with an angry look in his eye. It would seem that she was going to have to be leaving Vale and going to a different kingdom now. She had thought that nobody saw her slick moves, then she realized that maybe the cop had seen Naruto take out his wallet beforehand and match the color and shape of it. After all, how many people had a green wallet shaped like a toad? It's the work of a hideous wallet that's managed to foil her. Weiss commented. "Well, I like it," Ruby said, thinking the wallet was a little cute. Emerald tossed the wallet on the ground and she started to hightail it. She ran through the people, trying to lose the cop that was chasing her. The 3 cops that were now chasing after her. "Hey, get back here!" Naruto was just silent throughout the entire thing as the cops chased Emerald around a corner, and they all vanished. Naruto walked over to the wallet on the ground, before he picked it up and looked at it for a moment. His eyes were blank as he started to comprehend what had just happened to him. He blinked a few times, furrowing his eyebrows, before he opened up his now mostly empty wallet. "Well shit, I got robbed," Naruto realized for a moment. "Is that how he's going to take it as?" Weiss questioned. "I'm sure he'll figure it out," Blake argued. "Shit! My money!" See? Blake said. Naruto shouted out when it truly hit him that he had no money to stay at an inn, or buy any of the stuff that he would need for his journey around the kingdoms. Naruto looked around the corner that the cops chased Emerald. With Emerald. Shit! Pretty sure orange is not my color. Emerald thought to herself as she imagined what she would look like wearing a prison outfit. With her hair, she didn't believe she could pull it off very well. They hadn't caught her yet, but they were calling in backup and drawing their pistols as they chased her. The guns were of no concern to her, she had an aura to protect her, but the fact remains that she wouldn't be able to get out of this without resorting to murder. Oh, so she does has a conscience. Weiss muttered. I'm sure she just doesn't want to get in any more trouble than she hopes. Yang replied. She didn't mind murder per se, but the fact remains if she murdered the cops, then her face and name would be placed on wanted posters all over the kingdoms. She would never be able to go into the kingdoms in broad daylight again, meaning that she would have a hard time living her life without being on the run from the police, the kingdoms, and military. While she could easily kill the cops, doing so was not the wisest of moves she could make. Not wise at all. See? Yang pointed out. She winced when a bullet hit the back of her shoulder, her aura stopping it from penetrating her body. She took out her gun and shot the ground in front of the cops, getting them to back off of her a little, just a little. She looked at her options. She didn't have very good options. Stop, you no good street rat. Emerald shot the cop who said that in his shin. He collapsed holding his leg. He grabbed his radio device and signaled for other cops that he was down, and more backup was needed. Emerald hissed in annoyance, hitting the side of her head with the butt of one of her guns. Stupid, letting your anger get the better of you. Emerald hissed at herself in anger. It makes sense, each of us has their own Tigger. Yang commented, unconsciously brushing her hair. Yeah, your hair, my cookies, Blake with tuna. Or her smut. It art. And even rude comments on Weiss singing. That only happened one time, the man deserved it. Said Singer argued. The man said something she disliked, so she shot him in the shin. She could have shot him in the head, but since he had no aura training, it would seem, that would kill him rather instantly. I should use my semblance, but I can't use it on both of them. Emerald thought as she looked at the two cops still chasing her. Yeah, she couldn't handle two. Just as she was turning a corner, a hand came out of a dumpster and grabbed the back of her neck. Before the cops could turn the corner after her, she was yanked off of her feet and pulled into the dumpster as well, the lid being closed silently behind her. She choked at her neck being grabbed so roughly, before she closed her mouth to avoid the police hearing her. She turned to look at who had saved her. Naruto? Of course he would. Blake grumbled. He does look like the kind of guy that would save people even if they were bad guys. Ruby agreed. Why do I feel that going to bite him in ass at some point? Yang commented. Naruto placed his finger to his lips to tell her to be quiet while he helped her out. She looked at him, suspicion clear in her eyes, but she nodded her head regardless. It didn't matter if she didn't trust him, she could see that if she talked the cops would realize where she was. Naruto leaned up and looked through a bullet hole in the dumpster. It was there when he got there, and he could see the cops running down the alley, before they turned down another corner and continued on their way. Great, your brother is an accomplice. Weiss said. Well, he's only an accomplice if the police knew who he was. Blake argued. Weiss wanted to argue more about this but decided against it for now. Let's stay here for a minute and let them run on their way. Naruto said with a small grin on his face. Why? Why what? Naruto asked with a look of confusion when he saw Emerald staring at him, emotion hot in her eyes, as was confusion. Why a dumpster? Well, it was the only thing nearby. I was running on the roofs, and I noticed the dumpster around the corner. I jumped into it thinking I could use it to save you, Naruto admitted while rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. Why save me? Emerald corrected him. That's a really God question. Yang said. If it was her, she'd rather let the cop deal with her. There'd be a good one. Blake grumbled. She literally just stole all of his money, after pretending to be nice to him and knocking him to the ground. He should be angry with her, super angry. Heck, saving her would be the last thing that he would want to do. Why not? Naruto returned with another question. Just because she stole from him, doesn't mean that he couldn't save her from trouble. It's just money, yeah. Losing it sucks, but money isn't everything. Naruto reasoned part of the reason why he wasn't that angry with her. He was still a little annoyed that she tricked him, but not that much. The teen was shocked to see how calm he is about this. That doesn't make sense. Emerald noted as she peeked through another bullet hole. Did a gang war happen in this alley? There were no cops around, but better safe than sorry, like getting out of the dumpster, and right away seeing cops there. I stole and lied to you, you should not be willing to help me. Emerald told Naruto, and he grinned awkwardly. He couldn't help but laugh awkwardly to compliment the awkwardness. You aren't the best person I've ever met, true, but I don't think you're that horrible yet either. Sometimes you have to give people a chance. I was given a chance when tons of people hated me. Of course, I'll need my money back, Naruto mentioned as he offered his hand to her. She looked at his hand for a moment, and she nodded her head. She reached into her cleavage and took out his money, before she gave it back to him, and he placed it back in his wallet. Naruto nodded in satisfaction. And just like that your brother got his money back, without hurting anyone. Blake added. He still aided a criminal. Weiss said. The police won't know. Yang argued. You know, You're helping a criminal escape the law, Emerald stated to Naruto, and he shrugged his shoulders. Wasn't like his face was seeing. See? Yang said. Wise simply slumped back into her seat with a huff. So what are you doing in Vale? You came off the boat from Menagerie. Emerald pointed out. She had to admit that her suspicions about the guy were very quickly fading away. Something about him was like an infection. It spread, and it got under her skin, but at the same time this infection wasn't a bad one. You were asking about an inn, Emerald pointed out as well, and Naruto nodded. I'm going to travel the world, see the sights. You know it's lonely traveling alone. You seem to know your way around. Want to travel with me? Naruto asked her with a sheepish grin on his face. Emerald just looked at him with astonishment the second he asked her that question, and just like that he made his first friend in less than a day. Yang said. At least it was better than how you made friends, RWBY. You ditched me, said Sister yelled. And she wouldn't stop yelling at me, Ruby said pointing at Weiss. I said I was sorry. Weiss argued. It was like he trusted her or something, which that alone was amazing to her. She stole from him, and he was still willing to put faith in her. Nobody had ever put faith in her before, or wanted to be around her or wanted to have anything to do with her. This was new. You're serious? Emerald asked with her eyes glaring into his own. This better not be a joke. It would be pretty mean of your brother to do something like that, Ruby said. I don't think Naruto's like that, Blake said back. I mean, it has to be better than what you are doing now. Being hated by people sucks, and I should know. I'm sure you would be a pretty amazing person if you had somebody to call a friend. It helps. I really don't want to travel alone, Naruto mentioned as he offered his hand to her. Emerald looked at it for a moment, before she shook his hand with her own. She couldn't help but smile a little. Of course, she was so taking a shower after this. Dumpster diving, not fun. I agree. Who know what kind of disease live in something like that? Weiss commented. Yang couldn't help but agree. She shudders to think if it ever got in her hair. Well, that was fun. Who's next? Ruby asked the team. Chapter 4. I'll give it a shot, Blake said, a little excited to see what her other's brother doing. Chapter 4. The future. Blake yawned first thing in the morning as she stretched herself up. She wore a simple black yukata with an orange obi around her waist, gift from Naruto. She had a few books open on her bed. She was a pretty sound sleeper, so she didn't worry about rolling onto them. Her eyes flittered open, and a smile grew on her face as she roused from her sleep peacefully. Gentle sunlight waking her from her window, she sat up and wiped the drool from her mouth, before she popped all of the sleep kinks in her back. "Ha, you still sleep like that?" Yan laughed. Blake blushed bright over her partner's laughter. "I like that you still wear something to remind you of the brother." Ruby commented about the orange obi. "Hey Naruto, what duo?" Blake's face fell as she looked at the bottom bunk of her bunk bed and saw that Naruto wasn't there. His bed still messed up. He didn't make his bed before leaving for his journey, though it was clearly not slept it. She had forgotten that yesterday, Naruto had left for his journey to travel the world. "I guess I have my own room." Blake spoke softly to herself as she laid back in bed. "Ah," Yang and Ruby said. Weiss didn't join the two but felt sorry the story Blake herself couldn't help but feel the same sentiments as her other. She had shared a room with Naruto for as long as she could remember. Apparently whenever her parents tried to give her own room as a child, she would throw a fit and just sneak back into Naruto's room. So they stopped trying, and just got them a bunk bed, and they expanded the room a little to fit two people better. She could see Naruto's stuff that he had left behind. His books on ramen and gardening, the books that he used to read to her when she was a little girl. She got off of her bed and looked around the room, for the first time in her life feeling alone. She grabbed one of Naruto's older shirts off of the ground, and looked at it for a second before she tossed it up onto her own bed, on her pillow. She grabbed a pair of his shorts, and a marker. She grabbed a pillow from Naruto's bed, and put his shirt on the pillow, shoving part of it through the top, and she slipped the shorts on the bottom of it. Then, when the marker, she drew a smiley face on the pillow, the smiley face having 3 whisker marks. She even took one of his older headbands and wrapped it around the top of the pillow. "You are Naruto pillow," Blake said as she placed the pillow on Naruto's bed. "I don't know if that creepy or adorable," Weiss commented. "Oh come on, there's nothing wrong with keeping a reminder of her sibling. It's not like she's making poster and a body pillow out of him," Yang said. "I have to agree, she's just misses her big brother. I'm sure in a chapter or two I'll be fine," Blake added. "I actually feel a little better now," Blake admitted to herself. Sure, it wasn't even close to the same thing as her unreplaceable brother, but she felt less lonely with the smile looking at her. Blake stared at the pillow some more, before she grabbed one of Naruto's yellow shirts, and she stuffed it into the headband to make it look like blonde hair. Better, but Blake noticed her mother looking at her from the open door with a smile on her face, and Blake's cheeks turned bright red from embarrassment. The team minus Blake laughed at her reaction when the mother popped in. Blake herself wanted to just find a hole to hide. "You're taking this better than I thought. I expected you to be crying. I'm glad to see you doing well. Your father was worried you would be taking this bad. The first morning is the worst," Callie mentioned from experience, having lost her own sibling to an unfortunate event that took her life when they were young. That first morning without her sibling to wake her up was the worst thing ever. I can imagine. Yang said. Same. Ruby agreed. I agree. Weiss added. She was happy to see her daughter was more mature than she was, slightly delusional, but more mature. She was handling it in her own way. It's still a little odd, really. Weiss said. She's coping, nothing wrong with that. Blake argued. Thank you? Blake said, not wanting to mention that she spent most of the night before crying until she couldn't cry anymore. This was the first time in her life that she had been separated from her brother. Kelly walked over to Naruto's pillow and picked it up. She hugged it herself, before she smiled at Blake and messed with the shirt on the pillow. See, even she's hugging the pillow. Yang said. I never once said there was anything wrong on what she was doing. All I said that it was just odd. The heiress argued. I'll redo some of the stitching, and make this better for you. Make it a little neater so that it is easier for you to hug, and look at. Breakfast is going to be ready in a lit. That's Naruto's weapon. He forgot his weapon. Callie took notice when she saw that Naruto's weapon was sitting in the corner, untouched. Naruto had been in a rush, true, but for him to forget his weapon was another thing completely. What? Blake questioned. What? Ruby said, having a bigger reaction than Blake. How can someone forget their own weapon? His weapon was a spiral shield. The shield was black in color, with a red spiral starting at the edges of the shield, and moving towards the center. The surrounded edges of the shield were bladed, and the center of the shield had the belladonna symbol on it, inside of Naruto's personal symbol. There was a handle inside of the shield, the handle of a sword, and it was connected to a strip of the shield. He forgot his shield, shuriken sword? Blake asked with some surprise in her voice. That sounds awesome. How does it work? How tempered does he keep it? What's the mechanism? Ruby began firing a blizzard of questions while the other two members of the team looked to the sister. She gets really excited when she sees a new weapon. Yang shrugged. She hadn't even noticed it. Naruto's weapon of choice was a shield, a bladed shield that could be thrown like a shuriken, but with the ability to become a curved sword with a serrated blade to it. It was a weapon that wasn't powered by dust, since Naruto didn't use dust, but was instead held together by simple mechanics. It didn't require dust ammo, since Naruto couldn't use the ammo seeing as he had no aura of his own. His weapon was one of the few that he could use, otherwise he would be stuck with simple weapons that didn't use dust. Seemed pretty simple. Weiss said. There's not even a firing range added to it? Ruby complained. The weapon itself looked really cool, no gun added made it a bit dull. Oh well, this isn't a training journey. I'm sure he can pick up a sword, or when he sends us a letter we can mail him his weapon to him. What trouble could he possibly get into? Kelly questioned as she walked out of the room without much concern. Naruto was going to be staying in Vale for a few days before he started his journey from there, so they would have time to get his weapon to him. It wasn't like he was a trouble magnet. Why do I feel she just jinxed it? I think she just jinxed it. Yang commented. With Naruto. Shit! Called it. Yang exclaimed. But she held back her rant as she saw the worried her partner had. Swear! Ruby shouted. Naruto ducked underneath the sword aimed at his head, while Emerald took out her guns and openly fired at the woman that was trying to kill Naruto. The woman slashed at the bullets, and cut them each in half with little trouble, before she sheathed her sword, and unsheathed it to send a wave of aura at her. Naruto grabbed her and pulled her out of the way of the attack, which moved faster than she was capable of dodging, before she was killed by it. Wait a minute, I've seen that woman before. Yang said. The woman standing in front of them was a mystery. Mystery, as in she literally came out of nowhere, and was trying to kill Naruto. No hello or anything, just murder as her greeting. How did you make her angry? Emerald asked as she turned her guns into changed sides and prepared for any close quarters. How can she just assume that it was his fault? Blake defended. Naruto reached behind himself for his shield. It took him that long to find out that his doesn't have his weapon. Weiss said in shock. Your brother's an idiot. Yang commented. Blake was inclined to agree. I'm an idiot. Naruto said to himself when he realized he had left his weapon at his home. The one thing that he needed more than anything else, and he left it at home, like the idiot he was. That's not why she is angry at me, I don't think. I've never seen this woman before in my life. I would recognize a beautiful, angry woman anywhere. Naruto mentioned as he glanced at the woman trying to kill him. Is he going to hit on every woman he meet? Blake said. I think he's just saying the truth. Ruby pondered. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really a matter of perspective. Yang argued lightly. She was a little taller than him, and she wasn't even wearing heels, sadly. She had pitch black hair like the feathers of a raven, tied up with a red bandana behind her head like a spiked tail. She had pale skin, like the moon, with sharp red eyes that gazed with a fury to them, a confused fury. She wore a red and black kimono top, with a red obi, over her slender body, which bore some rather well-formed breasts. She wore a miniskirt in the color black, showing some impressive thigh. She wore armor over her forearms in red, and black thigh-highs in black. The sword she pointed at him had a red blade to it, and she was currently, slowly sheathing it. You know, when you look at it, she kinda look a little like Yang. Blake commented, but the blonde did not reply. Her own mind was placed to pieces wondering at that who she thought it was. Leave, little girl, this is with me and this creature. The raven-haired beauty spewed filthy words from her mouth at them. Oh great, she's one of those hardcore racists. Blake complained. She can deal comment from other people now and then, but when there are types that would try to cleanse this world from them, it just gets annoying. One day into this journey of ours, and we are already on somebody's shit list. You are just a fountain of good luck. Emerald was completely sarcastic as she spoke. She swung her weapon, and the blades jumped out of the handles, attached by chains. The woman raised her sheath, and let the chains wrap around them. Emerald pulled on the chains, while Naruto started to move to go on the offensive. He was trained in martial arts, thankfully. Hold her down, shit. Naruto made his left hand glow gold as he blocked her sword when she unsheathed it, the sword not chained down by the chains. Just the sheath. The woman spun around, and Emerald was pulled forward a step by the motion. She swung her sword with more speed, and Naruto blocked it a second time, before he used his non-glowing hand and tried to punch her in the face. She's really good. Ruby commented. But why was his hand glowing? Weiss asked. Might be a semblance. Ruby answered. He was not afraid to hit a woman that was trying to kill him. Hard to do. Emerald was finally jerked off of her feet and onto her stomach by the woman, who mostly ignored Emerald and tried to kick Naruto. Naruto blocked the kick with his forearm, while holding onto her sword tightly so she couldn't use it on him. The woman grit her teeth in annoyance, before she hopped off of her foot and used her other hand to kick at Naruto. He blocked it with his leg, stopping her assault cold. She returned in less than a second by letting go of her sword, and putting her hand on the ground, while also letting go of the sheath and grabbing onto Naruto's free leg. She pulled on it, trying to knock him off balance. Naruto let go of her sword, and flipped backwards, making distance between them, before landing on his feet. The woman did the splits on the ground, catching her sword with her hand, before she straightened her legs and stood up, catching her sheath moments before it could hit the ground. Well, at least she wears spandex with a skirt that short. That would be distracting, Naruto thought, since he had gotten a clean look up, or down in this case, her skirt. She wasn't wearing panties, instead spandex shorts. Ugh, your brother really needs to stay focused. Weiss argued. It's not his fault that the women he meet are trying to kill him. Blake bit back. But she more concerned on the woman attack. She can tell the woman attack was an experienced hunter. Maybe even a veteran. The woman was paused in front of them. Do you just attack every faunus you see? Calling them creatures? Emerald asked with a raised eyebrow as she took the moment to recollect herself and stand back up. This woman was leagues above her, that much was clear. She was going to have to use her semblance to try and let them have a moment to escape. Pointing out the woman's racism would give her the chance to get it started, and focus on it. I don't care that he is a faunus, he is not natural. Something with his ability can't exist. He is giving him a headache, she spoke as she placed her hand on the side of her head. Just his existence was giving her a headache, she wasn't kidding. Every single time she tried to use her semblance, she got a headache thanks to his existence. Oh, so just because he exists makes it his fault? Blake said heatedly. I don't get it either. Yang agreed. What is she doing? Yang thought nervously. Emerald glared at Naruto. What did you do? Emerald asked, and Naruto raised his hands in surrender. He didn't do anything. Blake yelled. You seem to be a little into the story. Weiss said. So if this was your brother in this story you wouldn't be concerned for him. Blake argued. If it was Naruto maybe. But my brother not so much. Weiss replied. Whitley wasn't exactly a model brother. Nothing. Yet you haven't done anything yet. But you will or might not or won't, I don't know. The woman said through grit teeth. Emerald and Naruto both looked at her like she was an idiot. So she can see into the future? Ruby pondered. But the rest of the team just shrugged their shoulder. She's crazy, I'm being attacked by a crazy lady. First I get robbed by a beautiful girl. Naruto changed what he was going to say when he realized that Emerald was right there. He was going to say thief, and it would be accurate. But he didn't really want Emerald to hear him say that. And now some crazy woman is attacking me for something I haven't done but that I have done. Naruto didn't know what to make of any of this anymore. The fuck was wrong with this lady? Well, I'm sure we can make a list. Weiss commented. Is she an ex-lover or something? She seems crazy enough to date you though your tastes in age are a little. Please, as if she's good enough for him. Blake said. Anyone trying murder a family member just to date him or her is a big NO on her book. Emerald taunted a little, though her taunt was mostly aimed at the woman attacking them. They didn't notice as the woman slowly stepped closer to them, sheathing her sword as she narrowed her eyes. She was going to slowly launch her next attack. I guess I can introduce myself. I am Raven, and I'm not crazy. Your monster here is a freak. Raven spoke as she directed a glare at Naruto. Oh no. Yang whispered loudly. Yang? Blake questioned. Yang hid her face from the team, avoiding look from the girls. Meet my mom. Yang said lowly, earning shocked look from her teammates. The person she was looking for a long time happens to be trying to kill her partner's brother. Without any other comments, Blake continued with the story. That hurt. Naruto mentioned, since those words actually did hurt him. He didn't even do anything to her, and she was treating him like a monster, a freak, and trying to kill him because of something he might do, instead of because of something he did. The feeling he had right now was a feeling he had not had in a long time, and that made it even worse to him. Ouch, okay bitch. Emerald just insulted Raven. Sorry Yang. Blake apologized. Even though she was a bit sorry, the faunus agreed with the thief's comment. It's okay, she's kinda being one right now. Yang agreed. Those insults were very unneeded. I can see the future, and the future is set in stone. No matter what I, or anyone else, does, the future will come to pass. I have never been able to change what I see, so I never look into my own future. I use my ability to know where horrible things will strike and avoid those places. Your freak here. Raven pointed to Naruto, who grit his teeth with growing anger at her words. Okay, he was starting to get pissed. I don't blame him. Blake said. I'm sorry, Yang, but I really hope my brother punches your mom. She just couldn't believe her partner's mother was this racist. The daughter was shocked at this too. I haven't done anything. Naruto interrupted her. You haven't? The future has changed, and then it changes again and again. Nobody can change the future, it's the law, but you are doing it. Every future I see now has multiple endings now. I see the original future, and now I see dozens of possible futures then to you. Raven shouted with anger. His existence put her entire tribe in danger. She didn't know what places to avoid anymore to keep them safe. Now all places were either safe or dangerous. She didn't know what places were okay to go to, and what places would lead to the destruction of her tribe. She didn't know. She had seen the destruction of Beacon Academy, and the death of Ojpin in the future. She had even warned people it would happen, and the future stayed the same. Yet, now she was seeing over 40 different ways that Beacon was being saved from destruction. All of which were connected to this boy in front of her. She was seeing several ways it could be destroyed as well, and she didn't know anymore. Wait, so she's not trying to kill him because he's a faunus? Ruby pointed. She's trying to find a way to see the timeline clearly. Weiss added. Naruto was never a part of that timeline, so when he became a part of my family, the timeline your mom saw kept changing. She's trying to help. As twisted as it is, but help. Yang concluded. A little respect was brought back about her mom, but still didn't change the fact her approach was a bit messed up. What? Naruto and Emerald asked together. That was hard to believe. You aren't natural. Raven shouted as she stabbed at Naruto with her sword, point-blank range. The sword pierced Naruto's gut, and came out of the other side. Raven grinned when she saw that she had given him a fatal blow. Finally! You let your guard down, and now the future is going to be set in stone again. Raven pushed Naruto away from her, her sword still in his gut. Naruto! Blake yelled. Scared beyond for her other's brother. Mom! Yan shouted at how easy it was for her to just stab someone. Naruto! I'm fine, it's only a flesh wound. It'll heal. Naruto tried to calm Emerald down with blood pouring from his mouth. He had a pained look on his face, while Emerald ran to his side. Naruto pulled the sword out of his gut, and the wound became to steam right away. In moments the wound was healed, and Emerald looked in amazement at his wound vanishing. Is that his semblance? Ruby asked. I don't know, I've never heard of a hunter or a huntress with 2 or more semblances. Weiss replied. Raven caught her sword with a look of shock on her face. You are a monster. I can't sense even a little bit of aura from you. You shouldn't have a semblance. What the hell are you? Raven stepped back with, for the first time in a long time, a genuine sense of fear for something she didn't understand. That type of wound killed. It didn't matter who it was. Getting a sword through the damn stomach was almost instantly fatal to most people. Okay, no offense Blake, but your brother normal. Yang said. This guy just shrugged it off. Oh sure, shrug off the fact you've just been stabbed. Everyone does that. Of all the people, Weiss grumbled. Weiss, you're griping. Blake said. I'm allowed to. That wasn't natural. And he was wiping the blood from his mouth like the wound was literally just something that he could shrug off. He had been in pain. He pulled the sword out, and then he healed from it. Ow, Naruto said as he rubbed his stomach. Both her sword and her words were hurting him. Emerald activated her semblance. Okay, let's run away. I am using my semblance to show her an illusion. We can take this chance to escape. What are you doing? Emerald asked, and Naruto walked over to Raven, swing her sword at mid-air, as if she was fighting an invisible foe. Emerald took out her guns again, and got ready for the fight to continue. Okay, you want to fight, we can do that too. I'll kill her now, Emerald said as she took aim at Raven's head. Huh, so that's her semblance. Wait, are they really going to kill your mom? Ruby asked in later shocked. She better not. Yang grumbled. Her mother just got to be in the story. It make no sense for her to be killed off so soon. But why is Naruto walking in front of her? Blake questioned. Grabbing Raven's arms, he held them above her head, and broke the illusion early. Raven looked in shock when she saw Naruto in front of her. He raised her hands high enough that she was no longer standing on her feet. What? Are you going to kill me? Stop me from ever attacking you again? Raven asked, seeing as she wasn't able to fight as well without her weapon. She wasn't a martial arts expert. She could throw skilled punches and kicks, but she wasn't an expert in the field. It wasn't like she could look into the future and see what Naruto would do next. All she would see would be a dozen of what-ifs that could happen. The time it would take her to see all of those different futures would leave her open. She was truly unsure of what was going to happen to her. She could turn into a raven, but she couldn't fly far enough away to get away from his speed. Also, he was grabbing her arms. If she turned into a raven, his hands would just be on her wings instead. Not exactly the best place for a hollow-boned creature to be grabbed. Wait, she said turn into a bird? Blake asked. She then looked at her partner. Can you do that? No. Well, at least I don't think I can. Yang answered. Now I wonder what kind of bird you'd be if you can? Ruby wondered. Probably something as proud as she is. Weiss commented. I'm sorry if I do something to hurt you in the future, but the future hasn't happened yet. Whatever I do in possible future that hurts you, I'll try my hardest to not hurt you. I'm not a monster, I'm a person, just like you. Naruto said as he dropped Raven, and wrapped her in his arms, hugging her. Eh? Raven asked with just shock. Eh? The rest of team copied. What? The fuck, that's my question? Blake exclaimed. Who hugged the same person who was just about to kill you? Don't be afraid of me anymore. Naruto thought as he held on to her tightly. She struggled as hard as she could to get out of his hug. She even bit him. She sank her teeth into his neck and just chomped down as hard as she could. He didn't let her go though, but instead held her firmer. I would say he's a huger, but even I know when to let go. Yan joked. Didn't really ease the tension between the team. Emerald sighed, before she took aim at Raven's forehead. I'm not a good guy like Naruto, so I'm going to just end this my way. Emerald stated as she fired at Raven. Naruto stepped to the side the second she shot, and took the bullet into his back. Shit, are you okay? Emerald asked, seeing as she had just shot him in the lung or heart. And he's just not going to comment on the fact of friendly fire. Weiss questioned. I'm just glad he's okay. Blake said in relief. With his apparent healing, it didn't really matter which, he would be fine. Something as small as a bullet piercing him wasn't going to do jack shit if a sword was useless. The fuck? Raven thought with wide eyes. She had looked into the future the second that she saw Emerald pointing at her. She had seen Emerald shooting her in the head, and killing her. She hadn't even seen the alternate future where Naruto saved her. She had seen several other versions of the future, but she had not seen the future that had just happened. His ability to change the future could even escape her ability to see the future. His very existence was enough to change the future in ways that not even she could predict. I can't tell if this is something we should worry or not. Ruby pondered. Able to mix up the flow of time by just existing, does seem like a weird way to live. Yang said. I'm okay, listen, Raven. If you hate me I don't understand, but I'm sorry. If you can see the future I must have done something to you. It wasn't my goal to hurt anyone, I just want to get as strong as I can, so I can be the best leader that my people need and protect them the way a good leader should. Naruto apologized to her. Raven stiffened at his words. Let me go. Raven said after a moment, and Naruto let go of her without hesitation. Raven stepped back from Naruto, and she used her semblance. A symbol appeared in her eye for a moment, before she closed her eyes. She sighed. So he was able to stop her, by forgiving her. Ruby said. Not the best heroic way to win, but it's still up there. Yang commented. Glad that her mom wasn't going to kill them, and also glad to see Naruto not going to kill her mother. She still needs to apologize. Blake grumbled stubbornly. Well, say you're sorry, bitch. Emerald once more insulted Raven as she refused to take her aim off of Raven for a second. One wrong move and she would shoot a bitch. Raven ignored her completely. Well, at least you two agree on something? Blake partner joked. But the fauna said nothing in return. You just want to do right by your people, your family. I've been so focused on the fact that you can change the future that I let my fear cloud my judgment. I apologize, my words were out of order. I let fear control my actions. I've always been able to see the future, and not knowing what the future brings is new to me. Raven spoke her words with careful consideration. For the first time in her life, she was just like everyone else. Everyone else was unsure of the future. Only she could see the future, and know what it held. She had never questioned what the future would bring, because it was always known to her. Not knowing the future had been horrifying to her, because it had been the first time in her life that she felt powerless like she did. Instead of killing a person that could change the future, instead she should control the person that could change the future. The person in front of her had a good heart, and a powerful body. Her own fears had led to her making the hasty choice of trying to kill such a powerful potential friend. It's not a problem, after all, this one stole my money and I forgave her after I saved her from going to jail. Naruto pointed back to Emerald. If he could forgive somebody that had stolen from him, then he could forgive somebody that tried to kill him. Everyone deserved a second chance in his eyes, a single chance to change themselves for the better. He does have a point. Ruby agreed. Your brother has a good sense of moral. Weiss commented. Blake agreed with the heiress. Put your guns down, girl. You are out of your league. The only reason your bullets would have hit me before was because he was holding me down. The only reason I didn't see through your pathetic illusions was because I wasn't looking into the future to see your images were fake. Raven spoke more harshly to Emerald than she did to Naruto. The only reason she wasn't killing this little bitch was simple. The girl's future had been changed by Naruto from what it had been. Now she was no longer going to be in alliance with Salem, meaning the girl wouldn't be part of the destruction of Beacon. Salem? Ruby questioned. The rest of the team shrugged their shoulders in confusion. I don't like you. Emerald stated a fact as far as she was concerned. For somebody who just lost, she had too much of a cocky attitude. Guess there is a similarity between you two. Weiss commented. Here is the address of a bar near Mistral. I go there on a regular basis, stop by sometime. I'll buy you a drink as apology. Raven stated as she turned to start walking away. She didn't walk away though, and she looked back and looked at Naruto. Oh, and the one thing that I see in all of your futures is you will have woman troubles, Raven stated as she looked at Naruto with a glint in her eye. Great. Blake grumbled. Well, hopefully it won't be how it ended up like the last two. Ruby suggested nervously. Raven was seeing different girls falling for this idiot. Sadly, she could see her future self falling in love with this idiot as well. She didn't know what he did in that future to make her love him, but that future wasn't so bad. She was seeing her tribe living in menagerie, living a life of peace and comfort. They would have a home, where they no longer needed to travel to stay safe from Grim. Menagerie and her tribe would protect each other, and grow stronger for it. I'm sorry, what? Both Blake and Yang said together. Yang's mom was basically gonna go after Blake's brother. So does this mean Naruto might be our future uncle? Ruby asked. No one made any comment, but the Bumblebee pair both pale at the revelation, while Weiss was doing her best to not laugh. A future where her people had a bright future with somebody who could change the future. Raven just found herself a goal. Immediately after the chapter, Blake threw the book down and lunged at her partner. What is your mother doing to my brother? She yelled. Me? Your brother was the one who hit on my mom. He's the problem, Yang argued. Weiss herself couldn't help but laugh at the argument, while Ruby looked at the two confused. Why should we do something? She asked her guffawing partner. What in the world is going on here? O asked as he walked in the room. He was a bit shocked seeing Blake and Yang wrestle on floor, ignoring urge to yell catfight. Sigh, I really should get paid for something like this. Chapter 5. So are you two done yet? O asked with his arm crossed. Let me out of here first, and then I'll let you know. Yang commented. She struggled out of the cloth, so managed to wrap her in. And why the hell did you tie me up like this? O chose to tie her with her arms and leg tied together on her back, leaving her mouth free, while Blake was suspended with her hand and ankles tied together. If you look closely, there's a small pink hue dashed across her face. To reason, really. First, it's a surefire way to make sure you stay still. O answered. And the second? Yang grumbled. A bit of my own entertainment. You could see the smug smile behind Zoe's mask. Pervert. Yang mumbled. Says the one who seemed to enjoy it. And I mean the both of you. O said. The blush on the two hog-tied teen intensified. If I were to let you two go, will you promise not to start any more fighting? They each gave a subtle nod and the cloths vanished. Well, now that that's dealt with, will someone get Weiss to stop laughing? With that, O vanished from the room. It took a few minutes, but Weiss was able to calm down, albeit a small chuckle, but the room itself quieted down. So I'll just get things started. Ruby said hesitantly. Chapter 5. Bird and Dragon. Hit me with a triple. Well, that seems something Yang would do. Weiss commented with a hint of mirth. Maybe you two have more in common than you. Her statement was cut off when Pillow collided with her face. Raven felt the need to drink. Mostly because of the massive headache that she currently had, partially because of a mental overload from trying to see the future, and seeing even more possible futures. She was sitting at the bar of a rather nice nightclub, rather nice as in it wasn't shitty, even if it was just a cover for a criminal to run an information-gathering business where he would also loan out his henchmen for hire. This was her first time going to Junior's club, but she knew about it. Great, now I can't go into my favorite place with getting a headache. Yang grumbled. I thought you told me the owner didn't like you. Blake questioned. So, how hard can it be to seduce a teenage boy? Raven thought to herself as she downed another shot without even a second's thought. Ugh. Yang moaned in despair. Oh yeah, your mom wanting to marry your brother thing. Ruby mumbled. No. Blake denied heatedly. If you looked at Weiss, you could see her lip twitching now and then. Her brother wasn't the only heavy drinker with a liver of iron. Seducing Naruto into marrying her was the best way for her to know that her tribe would be safe for as long as possible. Now that she couldn't see a reliable future, one where they were for sure safe, she would have to try and follow the future where she saw herself and her people safe on Menagerie. She could see herself, literally, falling in love with the blonde idiot in the future. She didn't know how he made her fall in love with him, and she didn't care. As long as her tribe was safe, then she would be fine with the outcome. Well, at least she's doing for the right reason, Ruby said, trying to find the brighter side of things. She's going after a guy who's half her age. Blake argued. Your age is but a number, she said weakly. Got a lot on your mind? Raven glanced up when she noticed the owner, Junior, a very tall man with a broad muscular form, staring down at her from across the bar. He wore a white shirt with a red tie, and a black vest over it. The man was trying to play it cool, seeing as she had just done over 11 shots. He was more than likely hoping to seduce her into getting into his bed. She didn't even need to use her semblance, not that it would be reliable anymore, to see that. Well, maybe he can help. See what she's doing is a bit far-fetched. Weiss pondered. All Raven had to do was catch him up. I'm only interested in little boys, I'm a pedophile. Raven spoke with the purpose of scaring him off of her. If you listen closely, you could hear a record scratch in the room. Well, at least we know where your sense of commentary came from. Weiss interject. Beside her, Yang curled in a ball, trying to as small as possible. It worked. The man backed off with a disgusted look on his face. She sighed in relief at him backing off of her. She didn't need some annoying asshole trying to get into her pants. There are better ways than that. Yang yelled at the screen. She moaning in despair back into her seat. Isn't she trying to get into a younger guy's pant? Weiss said. Yeah, my brother. Blake added. Though, she was trying to get into a younger man's pants, so she wasn't much different than him. Disgusting, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Junior stated as his men came up behind Raven. She glanced back at them, before her hand went to her sword. She unsheathed, and resheathed, her sword faster than they could react. Junior didn't know what happened at first, until his tie was cut into 2 pieces, the second piece falling onto the counter. 2 red lines started to go across the throats of his men, as their bodies froze, before blood started to spray out of the cuts. They collapsed to the floor, their heads falling off of their bodies before they even hit the ground. Raven glanced up at Junior, and he gulped in fear of her when he saw the dangerous look she was sending him. I didn't even see her move, Blake said in shock. Yang was fast enough to cover Ruby's eye. The last thing Yang wanted Ruby to see was her mother ruthlessly kill people without hesitation. He signaled for more of his men to come. Raven hummed as she stood up from the bar, and she placed some lean on the counter when she noticed all of his men staring her down. Get her. This is not going to end well, Weiss commented. The other minus Ruby agreed. 5 minutes later, she's terrifying. Junior thought with wide eyes on his ass and backed into a corner as Raven walked away from a slaughter of his men. All of his men were killed, their bodies cut in half, heads cut off, and their limbs all over the place. He winced when she walked by him, and when she stopped and looked down at him, he winced. She did all that damage in less than 5 minutes. Blake said she had 3 emotions at the moment: fear, disgust, and small hint of admiration. Fear of her fighting prowess, disgust of her kill, and admiration of the fact on how a veteran hunter is. Girls, can I open my eyes now? Ruby asked. No, was the unanimous answer. The scythe user pouted in her seat. He looked into her eyes. She was drunk, she was actually drunk. Her cheeks were red, and her eyes were dazed a little. She had killed his men in what amounted to a drunken rage, without showing even a little bit of the rage on her face. She didn't have a drop of blood spilled on her body anywhere, and she was completely unharmed from the fight. And she was to all of that while being intoxicated, still something you would do, young. Weiss commented. Yeah, can't argue with that, she said with a sigh. The money for my drinks is on the counter. Your men were weak, much too weak. I would think about hiring better men if I were you. Raven gave her best advice to him. All of his goons were pretty much untrained in aura, they had little skill, no real experience, and their weapons were the most basic of weapons. They couldn't even be considered a threat. Not one of them had any skill in the slightest, other than shooting a gun straight, or swinging a blade in a basic fashion. Your drinks were good though. I'll rate this place 3 out of 5 stars if only for the drinks. Raven spoke with a light joke in her tone. Sue her, she was a little drunk, and making jokes while and after a fight. Another thing you and your mom have in common, Blake added. She walked out of the front door without a care in the world. She would enjoy a nice walk through Vale while she had the chance. She was rarely in Vale, she only came today so that she could try to kill Naruto, though her plans were changed drastically now that she knew what kind of possible future would await her if she seduced him instead. To think somebody capable of making me fall in love and settle down. A future like that is something I wonder about, Raven thought as she continued her walk down the dark alleys and into some of the more brightly lit parts of Vale's market district. She passed a dust store, several of them. She paid them no mind though, she had enough stolen dust from her raids on other villages. At least my headache is gone. Raven sighed with a small smile on her face. Raven? Wait a minute, Yang said confusingly. Do we know him? Ruby asked, for the guy's voice sounded familiar. My headache is back. Raven deadpanned when she heard a familiar voice coming out of the dust shop that she passed by. Her former lover ex-husband before she left him. Dad? Both daughter yelled. Mom, why am I there? Yang questioned. Wait a minute, Yang, didn't Dad take you out on your 15th birthday? Ruby asked. That is when a realization hit her. When Yang turned 15, she and her dad went out in the city while Ruby surprised her with the arrival of their new dogs Vi. Yeah, but that doesn't explain why I couldn't remember her before? It's because of Naruto changing the timeline in the story is because you can't remember. He never existed, Weiss theorized. This day is just Raven didn't have the right word to say when she turned around and saw not only her ex-Taeyang Xiaolong, but also her Raven didn't exactly remember how old her daughter was. She was a few years younger than the boy she was going to make her next lover though. Taeyang. Raven looked at them. Taeyang was taller than her by half a foot, and he hadn't changed in the slightest, other than some scruff he needed to shave off of his face. Short blonde, spiked-up hair, with bright blue eyes, and peach-colored skin. If you added whisker marks he would look a little like Naruto. He even wore orange in his clothes he hadn't changed since they were teenagers. He had a heart-shaped tattoo of his flaming symbol. So that's your father. He looked well for a man his age. Weiss complimented. Thanks? Yang said in confusion. Next to him was their daughter, Yan Xiaolong, a 15-year-old girl. Raven remembered how old she was while looking at Taeyang. She looked like a mini version of herself, to be honest. She was a near-perfect copy of Raven. She had her long hair, only it wasn't spiked, instead it was wavy. Her hair was blonde, and she had lilac eyes. The girl was a carbon copy of herself but with colors more closely related to her ex. Her had a look of shock on her face as she held a box that had 2 gauntlets in them. That's right, she would be going to Signal, so she must be getting a present from Taeyang. It's her birthday today, Raven realized when he saw the rather expensive-looking set of gauntlets that Yang had. No doubt a weapon to fit her fighting style. If her visions of the future before Naruto started to change the future meant anything, then Yang was rather unskilled compared to others. She would gain a fierce temper that would consume her in fights. Her fighting skills would be rather sloppy, not bad, but sloppy, and she would become overconfident, and much too over-reliant on her semblance. Great, not even a sentence in, and she's already critiquing me. Yang grumbled. Mom! You came back! Yang shouted with joy when she dropped her gift. Taeyang caught it before it could hit the ground, and she wrapped her arms around Raven. What was in there? Weiss asked. Oh, just my favorite jacket. Yang answered. Taeyang was just shocked. She still has her right arm. That hasn't happened yet. Raven thought to herself. She had seen a few visions of Yang without her right arm. What? What the hell happened to my arm? Yang questioned. So that must not have happened as of yet, but with Naruto around, Raven didn't know if Yang would ever lose her right arm. Raven didn't bother hugging her daughter though, as Yang just hugged her as tightly as possible. Right, Summer is dead as well, Raven thought when she remembered several things that she should have. She never went to Summer's funeral, did she? Oh yes, she missed it, Yang said absently. Ruby had a look of melancholy, but her sister stayed with her to console her. I knew you would come back. Dad, is this the surprise you were telling me about? You found Mom, Yang exclaimed loudly as she looked towards her father, joy in every aspect of her being as she let go of Raven. Yeah, no. It was actually Zvi. Yang tried telling her doppelganger. She doesn't know that. Ruby commented. I know she knows. The blonde grumbled. Raven glanced at Taeyang with a raised eyebrow. The surprise is the puppy waiting at home with Ruby. Taeyang thought to himself as he silently looked at Raven, who glanced between him and Yang with annoyance in her own eyes. By the blush on her cheeks, she was either sick drunk, or excited in a special way. He would guess drunk, and he'd be right. Weiss said with a hint of amusement. Weiss. Yang complained. I'm sorry, but this kinda funny. The Shni replied. Mom, I've wanted to meet you for so long. I have so much to. Yang stopped when Raven raised her hand. She waited patiently for Raven to say what she wanted to say, but Raven only sighed and rubbed the side of her head. Her headache was actually coming back. Well, I'm sorry for giving you headaches. Yang bit back. You're forgiven. Both Blake and Weiss said in unison. When have I ever given you a headache? Yang questioned. From your jokes. You snoring. Your jokes. Eating habits. Jokes. You said that already. Yang yelled at Weiss. Just making a point. She replied. Tell you what, if you shut up now, and don't talk to me until my headache is gone, I'll spend time with you tomorrow. Can you do that? Raven asked as she looked at Yang. She just wanted the hyper girl to stop being hyper, long enough that she could think of some way to get out. Raven blinked. Yang was a young girl, she would know how to seduce a boy around her age. That would be useful to her now that she thought about it. If by spending time with her young daughter, would give her some information on seducing her young, future lover, then she would just have to take one for the team and do it. Oh God, your mom is coming to you for advice for seducing my brother. Blake moaned in annoyance. I get to spend a day with Mom. Yang was giddy as she kept her mouth shut. Raven sighed, and mentally tried to think of a place where she could stay the night. Yeah, I'd probably be happy that I get to do that. Yang commented. There was a motel nearby. Meet me here tomorrow, at 4 in the evening. Tai. Raven nodded to Taeyang, who waved back at her, as she turned around and made her way towards the motel that she would be staying at. What just happened? Taeyang couldn't help but question. Why would Raven want to spend time with Yang? Too much for you to understand. Yang said. The others agreed with her. Chapter 6 Bird and Dragon Shopping. So mothers take their daughters out shopping for attractive clothes? I can't help but find this stupid, Raven thought to herself as she leaned up against the spot that she had told John to meet her. She was reading a small magazine on mothering, seeing as her entire life despite being a mother, she not only had zero maternal instincts but had never actually done her motherly duty. This was new territory for her entirely. Ask her to kill a man, and she could give you a list of ways to kill him both slowly and quickly, and that not disturbing at all. Yang grumbled. Want her to infiltrate an enemy base of operations? Or invade a village of trained warriors with nothing but a tribe of bandits? She could do all of that. You have to admit, sis, that your mom is pretty cool. Ruby argued. But all the blonde girl did was slouch in her seat. Being a mother? Hey Mom, did I keep you waiting? She was not sure if she could even pretend that she was a good mother, because being a mother had never really been part of her game plan. Raven looked at Yang, and could see the girl was brimming with happiness just to spend the day with her. Yeah, I guess I'll be pretty happy there. Yang mumbled. Yes, you kept me waiting. Don't let it happen again. Raven spoke sternly, but not in a cruel way. Yang laughed and rubbed the back of her head in response to the harshness, because even though it was harsh, it was different than her father. Boy, talk about blunt. Blake commented. So this was her mother? She didn't hate it so far. So what are we doing? Yang asked with a smile on her face, curious about all of the places they were going to go. I mean, I won't complain, I'm just happy to spend time with you. Are you happy to spend time with me? Yang asked, hoping the answer was yes. No said anything to Yang as Tae knew this was a private moment for her. More than anything, she wanted to be wanted by her mother. She had so much that she wanted to ask, but she didn't want to rush anything and push her mother away again. Questions like those ones could come later. Yang waited for an answer. You are very talkative, aren't you? You take after Tae in that area. He was always talkative. Are you a bully like him? Raven asked as she gave her daughter a critical eye, showing that she was judging Yang very harshly at the moment. Yang frozen up and laughed nervously, seeing as she What? Wait, Dad was a bully? Yang questioned. Even I didn't know. Ruby added. Well, name a parent that admit that he or she was bully when he or she was a kid? Weiss questioned only to be returned with silence. Dad was a bully? Yang asked as she followed her mother, when Raven started to walk. Yes, he was. He picked on weaker students, and his own teammates. He even tricked Crow into wearing a skirt in public, calling it a kilt. Uncle Crow wore what? Yang and Ruby yelled in shock before laughing uncontrollably at the mental picture. That seems more like a prank than a bully, Blake said, doing her and keeping her laughter in. Summer mellowed him out near the end of our time at Beacon. Are you like him? Raven asked with a raised eyebrow, seeing the nervousness. I don't like bullies, or anyone who picks on the weak, Raven stated to Yang when she didn't answer. Yes, she does. Scold her. Ruby cried out. Sisterly love, Ruby. Sisterly love. Yang argued. Yes, she was a bandit, but it wasn't like she attacked people because they were weak. She gave them warnings, and she avoided killing them where she could. She didn't prolong the suffering of her enemies, and she gave the weak plenty of time to run away from danger. Even when the Grim attacked, she made sure that she could time it so that the innocent people wouldn't be too harmed by it. No. I mean, I'm not a bully, I pick on my sister a lot though. You know, teasing and stuff. You must have done it with Uncle Crow? Right, Yang asked nervously as she looked at the shops they were passing. Lies, all horrible lies. Ruby cried out once more. Ruby! Raven stopped, and walked into a shop with Yang following her. Yes, I teased Crow. I can't fault you for teasing Summer's spawn. If she is anything like Summer, then she must be an easy target for teasing. Now, we will be shopping today and I will pay for anything you buy within reason. Raven explained what they would be doing, and answered the question. She crossed her arms and looked at the selection of clothes that were on sale, and those at full price. When she killed all of Junior's men, she had gotten quite a lot of money after going back and picking their dead bodies of their lean. Oh great, not does she kill people but steal from dead bodies. Just great. Yang yelled in agitation. But didn't you do the same thing when you knocked out that guy back at Signal? Ruby asked. Okay, first he was being a prick, and second this a totally different thing. Yang argued. Had to make sure she could afford to pay for Yang today after all. Oh thank you. Yang shouted as she hugged Raven. Raven allowed it, but didn't really return it either. It would seem you take after Summer as well. She was prone to hugging. Now let go, Branwens do not hug. Raven stated with her arms still crossed, not returning the hug. Refusing to return the hug. Those of Branwen blood did not hug. Well, I'm a Zawalong and Zawalong hug whenever they want to. Yang said. Yang, can you please stop hugging me? Blake complained. Nope, Uncle Crow hugs. Yang let go and mumbled, but she had to admit she was interested in the ways of their family that she was now learning about. What is it like being a Branwen anyway besides not hugging? Yang asked as she walked to look at the racks of clothing, and Raven looked around as well. She frowned for a second. Crow never told Yang what it was like to be a Branwen. Side note, ask Uncle Crow about Branwen. It's freedom. Freedom from the rules of the kingdoms. We live by our own rules, we take care of our own. The freedom to travel anywhere we want to, anytime we want to. It means being strong enough to survive, and loyal to our fellow tribesmen, something your uncle has forgotten. Raven spoke with some venom in her voice near the end. She was proud of her family, the ones that raised her to be the Branwen she was meant to be, the ones that trusted her with the responsibility of leading their people, their tribe, into survival. Crow left the tribe, and betrayed them to work for the kingdoms, the oh so oppressive kingdoms, and their foolish rules that kept them so relaxed. Relaxed enough that when push comes to shove, they would crumble. Geez, my Uncle Crow leave to stay with us, and he's considered a traitor. It's kind weird how she makes the tribe sound. It's like one of those vacation brochures you see before you go to one, and as soon as you get there it's become nothing but lies, Ruby added. But who would fall for something like that? Weiss asked. Wow, freedom, a life without rules, that sounds pretty cool. But no hug seems pretty lonely, doesn't it? Yang asked Raven with a curious tone. This is cute, right? Yang asked right after as she held a purple dress up to her body, and Raven stared at her. It does go well with your look. Weiss noted. Thanks, Weiss. Yang said, partly confused. Maybe talking with Yang wasn't as bad as she thought it would be. Lonely? As nice as hugs are, they don't serve a purpose. Anyway, a simple kiss is quicker, and conveys the same amount of feeling, Zoe, and I don't like that dress. It is too long, it will get in the way. Raven stated as she looked at the dress. It went all the way down to Yang's knees. That was too long. Too long? Yang questioned. I think it's right size for her. Weiss added. Ah, thank you, Ice Princess. Too long? This is normal, right? Yang questioned as she looked at the dress, and Raven rolled her eyes. For regular girls it is, but say there was an attack, and you were in that dress. Your movement speed would be impaired, and it could cost you an arm, or your life. The dress is beautiful but not practical. Raven explained her opinion on clothing. Yes, even she had an opinion on clothes. She was still a woman who knew how to dress herself. Well, at least she's taking an interest in your survival. Blake said. True. Anything that you couldn't wear into battle, or during a surprise attack, was something she didn't approve of. Is that why you wear a miniskirt? Yang asked when she looked at her mother's choice in leg wear or the distinct lack of, seeing if not for her tall boots, she would have her entire legs exposed as well. I mean, your miniskirt looks awesome. Yang complimented, and Raven snorted in amusement. That was a way to correct yourself. It's a battle skirt. Both Ruby and Weiss yelled in defiant. That right? The two huntresses yelled. Ugh, we've already established it. Blake complained. She was stating the facts of why her choice was better than other choices. Defending would imply that somebody was able to form a counter-argument with valid points. So this one then? Yang asked as she grabbed the same dress style, but with a much shorter dress length. Same thing, but shorter. Yang pointed out, and Raven nodded. Better, Raven stated as she went back to shopping as well, though she only had one reason that would ever have her changing out of her current outfit into something different. So, what do you know of boys? Raven asked with a raised eyebrow, though not looking at Yang, now to see what she could learn about seducing teenage boys. Oh, this again. Both Yang and Blake shifted uncomfortably. She really wants to date your brother. Weiss commented. Not much. I make them feel like less of a man with how strong I am. They don't want to date a girl who can bench press them, before throwing them through a brick wall. They seem to like girls who depend on them, and show them affection though. Yang spoke all that she really knew about courting men. Not much, seeing as most men didn't like a girl who made them feel like less of a man, other than very special guys with special interests. Interests she was not interested in. What interest? Ruby asked. You'll know when you're older. Yang returned quickly. But you said that the last time, and I meant it. Depending on him and hugs. Raven sighed at the second part. Affection meant being more giving with hugs, didn't it? Do you ever think you will try and get back together with Dad? Yang asked without thinking, and there was a heavy pause when Yang realized what she said. Yang subtly leaned in for the answer. No, we came from two very different worlds. Your father could never understand me, and tried to change me. He made me pick between him and the tribe. Raven stated with narrowed eyes. The nerve of that man. How is that his fault? Yang argued. You do know she's not really here, right? Blake interjects. But was silenced with a glare by her partner. Is that why you left me? Dad made you pick? Yang asked as she looked at her mother, worry and relief in her eyes. So it wasn't her fault? Ask what you really want to ask, Yang. I am not the type to beat around the bush. Raven stated rather coldly, seeing as she could see Yang wasn't asking the real question. Why did you leave me? Yang asked it. At that, Yang had her full attention in the question. Taeyeon, Summer, and even Crow wouldn't allow me to. They didn't want you to have the life I wanted you to have. Take this, Raven stated as she gave Yang a miniskirt that would show off her rear. It would look good with your butt and thighs. Anyway, I have been watching you. Branwens look after our family, even if the family doesn't know it. I even check up on your traitor uncle from time to time. Raven spoke with some bitterness in her voice as she spoke of Crow. Yang smiled. So that was her back at the train. Yang said with a wistful smile. So if I was ever in trouble, you would save me? Yang asked, happy to hear that her mother had been watching her. I would, but don't think it would happen often. If I save you, that will be the only time I do it. You are old enough to protect yourself. Raven stated harshly enough that Yang couldn't help but shiver at it. Her mother was different than her father was, very different. That's still an understatement of the century. Weiss mumbled. Well, everyone has a family member that's different from everyone. Ruby replied. On to a different subject. Did you ever remarry after you and Dad, you know? Yang questioned her as she managed to travel into the underwear section. Why do I feel awkward even though I'm not really there? Yang asked. It's a universal thing. Taking a parent to watch you try on underwear is the same as a father picking out a dress for you. Weiss replied. So your dad dash? Like I said, it's a universal thing. Raven shook her head. No, but I've recently found a man that I plan on getting together with. I can see myself falling in love with him one day after all. Raven spoke with a small smirk. Yes, she could see into the future, and see herself loving Naruto after getting together with him. She would just have to take all of the steps to make sure that was the future that was going to come true. The future where her tribe would be safe and sound, where they would be outside of the rules and restrictions of the kingdoms, while also being in one of the best places strategically for battle. Good for you, I guess. Yang was a little awkward at that one, not sure how she would feel having a stepdad. Is he cool? Yang asked, at least hoping for that part of it to be true. Your brother is pretty cool. Yang said. Thanks, he is very cool. I am pretty sure that he would be just your type if I weren't already going after him. Raven was cocky when she spoke, and here come the bomb drop. Yang said. After all, she put her mind to being with this man. There was nobody that would stand in her way. Mom, I'm 15. If a guy is old enough to date you, I think he is too old for me. Yang pointed out, and in 3, 2, 1, he's 17, there we go. Geez, this has to be weird, finding out your mom is trying to go out with a guy that only a few years older than you. I don't think I can handle that. Thank you Ruby for understanding my pain. No problem sis. Ruby said unaware of the sarcasm laced in Yang's voice. Are you a pedophile? Yang asked, weirded out by that a lot more than she felt that she should be. She wanted to be influenced by her pedophile mother after all. That is a pretty big age gap after all. Yang stated, adding onto it. Raven twitched in annoyance. Oh so she's annoyed that basically told her the truth. Yang said. I think it's more on the title that you placed on her. Weiss argued. If you weren't my daughter, I would slap you for that one. Raven started off strongly, her temper showing as she glared down Yang. I could still pass for my early 20s heck, I'm still able to wear clothes I wore when I was your age. Not to mention, those of the Branwen family retain our youth longer than others. Your great-grandmother could pass for 50, and she died when she was 83. Raven ranted off at Yang, and Yang gulped when she realized she hit a sore spot. See? Weiss said. Yang raised her hands in surrender. I'm sorry. I mean, wouldn't you prefer a guy closer to your age? It seems kind of weird for you to like a younger guy. Yang corrected herself heavily. That is what I am talking about. You were raised by the laws of the kingdoms. You think too much on what is normal and weird. You can't see the big picture, if social norms hold you back. Raven lectured her daughter on why she shouldn't judge for such a reason. Yes, to somebody in the kingdoms it would seem strange, but not outside of the kingdoms. Inside of the kingdoms, both men and women fought side by side against the Grimm, which meant that people usually got together at young ages, and died together at those same ages. Older and younger couples didn't really have chances to grow. Outside of the kingdoms, women and children didn't do as much of the fighting. Instead the men would go out and fight, also hunt. This usually meant that villages had a shortage on men, which of course meant that any man old enough to survive would get targeted by women within childbearing ages. So really she's trying to keep the guys in her group alive. Blake pondered. Oh, so she's an Amazon. Weiss said. I'm a what no? Ruby questioned. A proud female warrior. Oh, the big picture you want to be with this guy. So what is the big picture? Yang questioned, blushing a little when she saw her mother take a rather risque thong off of the rack. This young man is practically the prince of the faunus race. Very soon, he will become the chief of menagerie. If I get together with him, my people will have a place we can be safe and menagerie gets the protection of my people against Grimm. They can expand their small borders further. A union between our people is mutually beneficial. Raven explained the big picture for Yang, while leaving out some very large details that Yang wouldn't understand. Like the reason why Raven needed to find protection for her people, or why menagerie was the best place for them, and not one of the kingdoms. Kingdoms that would have them wiped out for their past crimes, crimes that they had never committed against faunus, or the people of menagerie. Her tribe had never done anything to deserve the ire of menagerie, and menagerie didn't have all of the laws and regulations that the kingdoms had. The chief was the ruler of menagerie, and ran everything. If he didn't like a law, then he could get rid of the law. He had full power over his people, unlike the kingdoms who elected corrupt people into power. The chief of menagerie was always a person who understood humility, honor, respect, and the importance of power. I don't know how I feel about this, Blake said. One hand it's nice to know your mother never really care about him being a faunus. It's weird how she's praising him. What does she mean prince of faunus? Well, your mom and dad watch over menagerie like a king or queen. And since Naruto is considered their kid, wouldn't he be like a prince? Yang asked. Oh yeah? That's right. That's make you the princess? How who knew we'd have two princesses on our team? Yang quipped. Eris. Why serrade? A tomato. So, do you need my help knowing what teenage boys like? Yang asked with a smile. Anything to get into her mother's good graces. Raven looked at her. Better yet, now that you are old enough, would you like to become a member of my tribe? Raven asked Yang with a curious look. You wouldn't go with her, would you? Ruby asked. And leave you all alone? Forget it, Yang said with conviction. The two sisters hugged at the proclamation. Yang shook her head. As much as I would like that, I can't. You said you don't abandon family or something? Well, Ruby and Dad are important family to me that I can't abandon. Just because the tribe is your family doesn't make them mine, but I would love to have a relationship with you. Yang answered with a negative on the offer, and as surprised as Raven was, she did not dislike the answer that Yang gave her. The answer was logical. I'm impressed, Yang. Weiss said. Thanks, Weiss. I didn't know you can actually say something so logical. Thanks, Ice Queen. Yang replied with sarcasm. I don't fault you for that. You are sticking by your family, the people who raised you. In that regard, you are better than Crow. You won't abandon your family. I respect that. You may hug. Raven stated as she kept her arms crossed, because she was going to allow Yang to hug her, but that didn't mean she was going to hug her back. Yang rushed forward with a smile and hugged Raven. Ah, that's sweet. Ruby said. Okay, hug over. Raven stated when a few seconds had passed, and the hug got a little too weird for her taste. And now it's ruined. Blake commented. What could she say? She wasn't big on hugs. Well, that was an ordeal. Who's next? Blake asked. Chapter 8 Coconuts. I think Blake might have a problem. Oh no. Blake moaned. Haha, yes, suffer. Yang mocked. Oh come on Yang, it can't be that bad. Ruby said, trying to find the brighter side of things. I think you spoil the girl too much. Gyra stated as Callie cuddled up to him, kind of. She was working on sewing a pillow that had the names of all of their family members on it. She was even stitching the belladonna symbol into the back of it. After she had made Naruto pillow Naruto for Blake, she had gotten back into sewing in general, and had been making even more pillows, blankets, shirts, jackets, coats, and scarves. She had turned her forgotten hobby back into her current hobby. Anyway, she misses her brother. I see nothing wrong with that. Her methods for coping are just unusual. Gyra spoke up in the defense of Blake. Okay, I'm no expert, but even I think that's a bit much. Yang said. I'm only missing my brother, is that so bad? The faunus argued. Make a pillow out of him, maybe not. But when you make blankets, scarves and even shirts, then yeah, though you have admitted it does take a creative talent to do something like this. Weiss complimented. Callie pouted. How she even has the same pout as you do. Ruby added. I do not pout. Blake said, unknowingly pouting. You're doing it right now. Weiss claimed, earning a bright blush from said woman. She takes pillow Naruto everywhere she goes, and she has placed poster Narutos up all over her room. I think she might be a little obsessed. Callie started off carefully. And there we have Exhibit A, Yan said. Gyra wasn't a fan of having the mental states of his children put into question. What parent does? Weiss questioned. Callie, the girl, threw a fit when we tried to give her own room as a child. She has looked up to Naruto her entire life, and he has been with her entire life. She wouldn't talk to us for 2 weeks when we tried to make her stop taking baths with Naruto. Gyra explained his opinion on the matter, the start of his opinion. Naruto had been the one true constant in Blake's life. While he himself would sometimes go out to do things for the White Fang, and Callie would go out and do the shopping, Naruto would always be by her side. Okay, I think I see what you mean, Blake said, lightly blushing. So did he mean that you still take baths with him, or you stopped on your own? Ruby asked. While no one answered, Weiss had a small blush at the image she had, Yang lightly drool on her. While Blake blushed, and had a small nosebleed, Naruto leaving had really shaken Blake up, so she was trying to fill the hole that Naruto had left by leaving, with things that reminded her of Naruto. It was her own method of coping with the stress of him not being around. I'm afraid she is using these things to run away from the truth, that Naruto isn't around. Callie mentioned, and Gyra sighed deeply. Boy, you really are a spoiled sister. Yang argued. Excuse me? Blake asked, offended. Well, I mean, you're so attached to your big brother that if you had the chance you'd probably marry the guy. Yang argued. I'm not going to date my own brother, but technically you adopted big brother, so. Is it really a crime? Ruby added. Whatever, her semblance. The semblance was the one truth of a person. Something that was vitally important to their character, who they were. Naruto had no semblance because he had no aura, but Blake had both an aura, and was trained in her semblance. You could have a semblance examined, and have the semblance owner get a review to see what the semblance said about the person. Blake's semblance was cloning herself, because she wasn't emotionally strong enough to handle things. She would rely on the strength of others to give her strength, and when that failed she would try to run away. Blake simply moaned and sank faster in her seat. That was when Naruto would give her his strength. I'm afraid she will run away to go and find Naruto. It's dangerous out there. I didn't even like letting Naruto leave home. Blake isn't as strong as her brother. What if she sneaks out and gets hurt looking for him? Callie worried over both of her children equally. She was terrified of the thought of them getting hurt. No offense, Blake, but if I had a brother like that, I'd probably would. Yang said. No taken. Naruto was different though. Naruto could hunt, cook, and take care of himself in the wild at the age of 2. Instincts like that didn't go away, and Naruto was able to survive the harshness of the world. Blake didn't have that sort of ability, and she was just a young girl. She didn't have the kind of training that would allow her to take on the world alone, and what a harsh world it was, even more so for a young faunus who had never left Menagerie. Oh yeah, since you've never left to join the White Fawn you don't really know the world outside from here, Ruby said, not to mention the limitation on how much I can fight. Blake added, you have nothing to worry about, Callie. Blake is a smart girl, she knows that she can trust her brother to come back home. That's why I picked her to become the next leader of the White Fang after all. Gyra spoke with pride in his voice. I'm sorry, what? Weiss said. So yes, my father was also part of the White Fang. But only with the group that actually protest. Not the hardcore one. We are going to have serious talk about this Blake Belladonna. Weiss exclaimed. Oh, she last named her. Ruby said. Yes, she's in trouble. Yang chuckled. His children were the ones he believed in most. As the eldest, he had picked Naruto for the position of the future chief of Menagerie. Naruto was loved by their people, and he had already proven his physical strength by fighting Grim that would wander into Menagerie. Not to mention many people already looked up to Naruto as their future leader, a shining beacon for them to follow. He had the heart of a leader, the strength to stand at the front of the battlefield, and the approval of the faunus of Menagerie. He also fully believed that Blake would be the peaceful leader that the White Fang needed. She looked up to her brother so much that nobody would work with him better than her. While he led the people of Menagerie, she would be the example of love that the White Fang needs to follow. She would rally for peace with the humans. Both would hold important roles in the future of Faunus kind. Blake smiled at that paragraph. I can see that happening. Ruby added. She takes after me in that area. Callie joked a little. She wasn't as smart as her husband was, but she wasn't a bimbo either. She was comfortably above average, though she did like romance novels more than she liked anything else. She loved the love drama. Huh, so that's where you get your fascination in smut you called literature. Weiss commented. It's not smut, it's artistic drama. Blake argued. Then how come I'm not allowed to read it? Ruby asked. We keep telling you, when you're older. Yang said. Believe in Blake more. She's a good girl, and even though she misses her brother, she isn't going to do anything bad. Gyra promised her, and she smiled. Callie uncuddled from him, and got onto her feet. She nodded her head, and took a ribbon that she had done off of the table, before she folded it up. I'm going to take this to Blake, then I'm going to bed. If Naruto calls, please wake me up. God knows our son would forget his head if it wasn't attached to his body. Callie laughed as she recalled some of the times her son forgot things. She wondered what he was doing now. I'm sure he's fine. Yang said, with Naruto. Look on the bright side. I'm staring at the bright side, you are on the dark side. You're cooking slower than I am right now. Emerald deadpanned as she stared down at the fire that was being used to slowly cook her body. She was tied to a thick stick, with Naruto tied to the other side of the stick. The two of them were being spun around. The fire was making Emerald sweat. Naruto was used to heat, so it didn't bother him as much as it did her. 3 of Team RWBY looked at Yang with a deadpan expression. Okay, error have been made. Yang said sheepishly. They had walked into a village of cannibals. Of course they had, why not? Blake complained. Well, they were humans that ate humans. Seeing as Naruto was a faunus, it wasn't technically cannibalism if they tried to eat him. Then again, most of the people dancing around them were wearing skulls over their heads, so it was hard to tell if they were human or faunus. How about we don't call them anything and try to get out of there? Blake yelled. You do know they can't hear you, right? Yang questioned. Blake turned to her with a glare. Shutting up. Okay then, look on the tasty side. I have more muscle than you, so they will try and eat me first. You're pretty thin, they might let you go, Naruto cheerfully stated to her as he was facing the fire, and her facing the moon in the sky above. She grunted at the fact that she was slightly under the recommended weight for her height and age. She had gained a little healthy weight since she met him, but it would be a little while before she was at the healthy weight for her gender and age. That doesn't explain why he's optimistic about this. Weiss said, you are very upbeat about this. I also have freakish healing, so this really sucks for me. Whenever they take a bite of men, I'm just going to heal from it. I'm a cannibal's dream meal, but I would rather not get eaten today either. Naruto said as he wiggled his hand into the back of her pants without anyone knowing. Emerald turned red when she felt his hand groping her butt. Well, I guess if your brother was going to get eaten, why not have one more touch before the ride? Yan joke. Pervert. Weiss grumbled. Hey, sorry, seeing as they don't speak our language, I would rather they not see what my hand is doing right now. This is a lot less suspicious, Naruto commented as he channeled his energy into his hand. He used her pants to hide the glowing of his fingernails as they took a sharper shape. I didn't he could do that. Ruby said. Must be an ability he came up with. Yang replied. With a quick swip, he pulled his hand out of her pants, and slashed at the ropes holding them. Emerald jumped off of his body and landed next to the fire. Naruto landed in the fire. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Yang said. Well, he's got increased healing, I'm sure he's been through worse. Not that I want to know. Blake added. Hot, you okay? Emerald asked when she saw Naruto jump out of the fire, patting the fires out all over his body, but completely unharmed. His fingernails in the shape of claws, before they stopped glowing and turned back to normal. Naruto's eyes, which had turned a shade of red, were no longer red. His change is gone. Okay, you are out of the fire, but we are in the frying pan. I have a plan. Naruto told her, and she smirked. I would love to see his plans. Weiss said. I think he works as he goes along. Makes them up on the spot. Yang theorized. Just like someone I know. Make it sound if was a bad thing. Ruby complained. Well, it wouldn't kill you to come up with a plan before we get into trouble. Weiss argued. Do you two want to hear my brother's plan or not? Blake said, quieting down the two huntresses, but they both knew this wasn't over. Is it stupid, hard to believe, and if it goes wrong, are we going to end up in a worse mess because of it? Emerald asked as the cannibals around them started to ready their spears. The people very much feral people. This must have happened recurrently. Weiss said. Yes, and oh yes. Is it going to work? Emerald asked with a growing smirk, as she grabbed her own weapons out of the basket next to the fire. The people were going to cut them up with her own weapons and serve them like that after all. Naruto was cracking his knuckles, lowering himself to fight with his bare hands. He really needed to visit Menagerie to go and get his weapon. Hey, maybe you two will finally meet. So it really will be a cat fight? Yan asked with a smirk. Ugh. Blake moaned in agitation. Have I ever led you wrong? In the weeks I have known you, we have faced the sea dragon, been attacked by 3 hordes of Grimm, gotten involved in stopping slave traders from selling young women, and saved a small village from a Grimm invasion. Your stupid plans have yet to fail us before. I have no reason to think they will fail us now, Emerald stated with her cocky smirk in place as the cannibals started to circle around them, wary of them simply because they escaped the fire unharmed. These people weren't trained in the use of aura, so for Naruto to come out of fire unscathed would be odd for them. I don't know if your brother has the worst luck or a master planner, Weiss said in shock of the listings they went through. I feel it way to the latter than the former. Your big brother is a hero, Ruby said with stars in her eyes. Great, now she's starstruck, Yang said. It was odd to Emerald since Naruto had no aura, but she didn't think too much on it. Good, because I see a pile of coconuts nearby that we are going to use for this plan to succeed. How are coconut going to save their lives? Weiss cried indignantly. With Callie, who knows what kind of trouble he is getting up to. I trust him to get himself out of any trouble that he gets into. I see you picked up coconuts at the store today, Gyra noted when he saw a coconut, and he grabbed one, before he cracked it against his hat. While your old man must have a hard head. Actually, that took a bit of time to do that, Blake replied. I keep telling you not to do that. You can really hurt yourself if you hit yourself in the wrong spot, Callie lectured Gyra when she saw him drinking out of the cracks in the coconut. You would think he would learn after he knocked himself out with the coconut. Hee, that really happened. Yang chuckled. Yeah, my father had done 5 times before he finally figured out the right way in opening a coconut, Blake said, adding air quote to right way in her sentence. With Naruto. Okay, that was a thing, Emerald stated as she looked at her surrounding. She and Naruto were both covered completely in coconut juices, with shattered remains of coconuts all around them. Many of the coconut pieces were still very much on fire from Naruto's plan, with all of the cannibals knocked out around them, many of them covered in coconut pieces, and tied up with ropes at the same time. Team RWBY laughed at the display on the screen. She was surprised that worked. I don't think you're the only one, Yang said looking at Weiss. I think we should leave. Before they wake up they won't fall for that a second time and we are out of coconuts, Naruto stated as he looked at all of the coconut bits all over the place. Emerald walked around, looking at the people. Don't even think about it, Emerald. We already beat their asses for trying to eat us. Don't steal from them. I don't want a tribe of cannibals to be on my ass because of you, Naruto told her when he noticed her glancing at the gold necklace that was on one of the women. He does have a point, Blake agreed. Emerald clicked her teeth. They tried to eat us, and she made an even better point, Yang said. Severance pay of attempt cannibalism. I don't think the law works like that, Ruby said. Yeah, and I would rather not have a tribe of insane cannibals tracking us down. We already pissed them off. Let's not give them reason to follow us. Emerald, no, Naruto spoke with more force, and she clicked her teeth again and tossed the gold necklace that she stole back onto the woman's body. And like that Naruto wins the argument, Weiss said. Curse Naruto's ironclad morals. Well, he is a hero, Ruby said. This is going to be a thing, isn't it? Blake questioned. Chapter 8 Fall. Mom, I don't have a problem. Oh, we're still on this? Blake exclaimed. Well, it was bound to happen at some point, Weiss replied. Blake, you have a problem, Callie corrected her daughter as she stared at the teen girl. Callie, even after she and Gyra had ended their argument on well terms, had only been able to put up with about another month of her daughter growing more obsessed with missing her brother. She hated to be the harsh, stern parent. She preferred to be the fun one who her children could talk to, but on rare occasions she felt the need to be the voice of reason. Has that happened before? Yang asked. Not as much as I can remember, Blake said, trying to remember when was the last time her mom was ever stern with her. Like helping Blake see that sleeping on a bed with nearly 10 different pillows of Naruto, each pillow shaped like a cartoonish Naruto, wearing his old clothes, was not normal. She had Naruto head-shaped pillows, Naruto body pillows, and she was still putting up posters of Naruto that were not cartoonish in nature. Blake stood silent. She made a silent prayer that her team would not comment on her. You have a problem, was the unanimous comment. Her prayer was left unanswered. What problem do I possibly have? Blake asked, not seeing the problem. She missed her brother. What was wrong with that? Nothing wrong with missing someone. But this is more like an obsessive problem. Blake was more shocked that it wasn't Weiss but Ruby who replied. Yeah, the only time I've seen someone act like this was when Ruby went to this new bakery at Patch. Young said, having said girl earn a bright blush from the reminisce. I was not that bad. You broke into the bakery one time to find their recipe, only for the cop to find you eating their batter. We were lucky the owner didn't press charges. Yang returned. Ruby curled into a ball of embarrassment. It took a long time for her family to not watch her whenever a cookie was involved. Blake, are you serious? Why don't you go and hang out with your friends instead of obsessing over your brother? Callie asked Blake. There was a pause. What friends? Wow. Ruby started. You really were antisocial, huh? Yang asked. Blake simply bowed her head. Ouch, that hurts me as your mother. Why don't you have any friends? Callie questioned with a wince. She didn't know that Blake didn't have any friends, nor did she. She had a clue as to why that was the case. Blake wasn't a social person naturally. Naruto brought the social parts out of her, but otherwise she never tried to do anything. She relied on Naruto to decide what they were going to do, and where they were going to go. She was always fine letting him make most of their choices. She followed him. That not healthy. Wise commented. The rest of the minus Blake agreed. I mean, why bother? Naruto was better than all of those annoying kids anyway. Why spend time with people that would annoy me, when I could be spending time with Naruto mom? What are you doing? Blake shouted in shock when Callie went around the room and started to tear down the Naruto posters that Blake put up. Callie rolled them up and put them under her arm, and she started to collect the pillows up as well. She had trouble getting them in her arms, so she dropped them. Well, looked like Mama Cat brought her claws out this time. Yang joked. Ugh. Yang. Blake groaned. What, it was needed? No, it really wasn't. Weiss replied. Instead, she grabbed Blake's arm and started to pull her out of the room. Callie stormed through the halls, pulling Blake behind her. Gyra looked up from the paper and towards them, confused. Callie, not now, Gyra, I'm being a parent. Callie stated to her husband, who shrugged his shoulders. He didn't know what was going on as Callie crossed the living room with Blake being forced to go along with her. I'm a parent too. Gyra mumbled under his breath. He was Blake's parent as well. Then help me, Blake exclaimed. Callie opened the front door to the house, and she pushed Blake outside. Blake stumbled from being pushed, and when she turned around, Callie was blocking the door to prevent Blake from being able to get back inside. You are making a friend, Blake, and you are not coming home until you have one. Callie crossed her arms, and made a firm stance as mother of her child. Boy, talk about tough love. Ruby said. I know, right? Telling your child to go make some friends as a sign of punishment. How does that work anyway? Yang asked. What? That's not fair, Mom. I don't need any friends. Blake complained, and rejected what her mother was telling her. Apparently like that. Weiss added. Blake moaned in embarrassment. Why was this book dragging her good name? Callie wasn't having it. You don't have an option here, Blake. You either make a friend, or you are going to be grounded for a month without any of your Naruto pillows, Callie stated, and she pointed out towards the civilians of Menagerie. Amongst them there would be many friend candidates for Blake to spend time with, and form bonds with. Blake bit her lip and looked out into the city, before she looked back inside of the house. Are you really that dependent on the man? Weiss questioned. Well, with a brother like him I wouldn't that surprised. Yeah, but has to be a limit. Alright, I get it. Blake exclaimed. Mom, no Blake, I don't care if you think it's unfair. I miss your brother too, in case you forgot, he's my son. You don't see me or your father acting the way you do, Callie coldly stated as she closed the door, and even locked it for good measure. She turned her back on the door and started to walk back into the living room, her expression changing from stern to worried in a second as she sat down across from Gyra, who looked up at her. I guess she's not used to being the stern parent. Yang commented. Mom wasn't very much of a punishment kind of woman. Blake replied. You mean she's a dom? Yang. Blake exclaimed with a blush. It's legitimate question. Worried? Was I too stern on her? I mean, I feel bad. She just misses her brother, but she needs friends, right? Callie asked her husband with her face expression her emotions for her. Not that he needed to see her to know how she felt. She was not made to be the stern parent, that was his job. She was the fun-loving mother, and he was the stern one. She doesn't need friends. Blake takes after me when it comes to personality. As long as she has one person she trusts completely, she will be fine. Our children are different, Callie. Naruto takes after you. You have to consider their personalities when you are stern with them. Gyra softly lectured his wife. She sighed and rubbed the side of her head, and she lowered her head. It's kind of weird. Yang commented. What? Ruby asked. Usually it's the guy that messes up in the parenting, not the mom. Weiss and Blake agreed with the blonde. She was used to letting Gyra be the stern parent, she was rarely the stern parent. Naruto was an angel as a child, and Blake was the same, copying her mother. They never had to punish their children, so being stern was usually just geared towards teaching them reading and writing. I guess I will go and find her. No, Callie, if you go, you will just send her mixed signals. It will only confuse her. She has to be upset with you right now anyway. Gyra took her hand into his own and stopped her from getting up. He didn't approve of what Callie did, but not only would he stand by her in this, but he would also make sure that she stood by her own words and actions. If she was going to do something, he was going to make sure that she stuck through it to the end. Let Blake calm down before you talk to her again, Gyra advised her, and she nodded her head. This was kind of the reason why he was the chief of the village. Blake commented, and soon you'll be next. You gotta find yourself a Prince Blakey. Yang replied. We could look for Sun, see if he's interested. Blake's head snapped towards Weiss with a furious blush. It was times like this that reminded her that not only was her good husband, but he was a good person and leader as well. He could calmly look at situations, but he was also passionate about what he cared about. With Naruto. Okay, I'm hungry and you are sure this is safe? Emerald asked as she looked at the mushroom stew and cooked fish that Naruto had made for them. He was in only his underwear, his body dripping wet from fishing. Naruto jumped into the water with a sharp stick to catch fish, which did impress her. Look at that body. Yang mumbled, gazing at the blonde's muscular body. Look at that fish. Blake added, drooling over the fish. And now we've lost them. Ruby said. I'll finish it. Weiss said. She had to appreciate his cooking. She used to be underweight, to the point that while she was healthy, she was only just barely healthy. Now she had gained enough weight to be the picture of health, while also retaining a slim, lean muscled figure. When she lived in the kingdoms, moving around to avoid getting a criminal history, she never really got to eat enough. Now she was eating enough, and her figure was actually better now that she had gained the healthy amount of weight. Well, that's her comeuppance for being a thief. Weiss commented. You know she can't hear you, right? Jan asked. I am allowed to dream, aren't I? This is either the mushrooms that are delicious, or the ones that give a person horrible stomach aches and explosive poops. He's not even sure? Blake questioned, shocked at how nonchalant he was. Why would that matter? The guy can heal from almost anything. A laxative mushroom won't do anything to him. Don't worry about the fish though, I removed the poison sacs from these ones. Naruto promised her as he slurped from his bowl of the mushroom soup. Emerald froze when she heard the fact that he wasn't sure which of the two that it was. Delicious, okay, safe to eat. Naruto promised her with a thumbs up, and she rolled her eyes, before she started to eat as well. What do you do with the fish organs? I mean, aren't they useful for something? Emerald asked, since she remembered some people in Vale selling fish organs for some exotic dishes. She wasn't sure what dishes though. I've heard about it too. But I'm not exactly sure if it's safe. Weiss said. Hey, maybe was find one in Vale. I'd like that. Blake added. I just tossed them into the forest. Animals will eat them. I did bury the poison sacs though. Naruto explained his actions as Emerald decided to eat. The food Naruto made for her was much tastier than anything she had stolen before, or was it the fact that for once she wasn't eating alone that made the food taste so great? She did hear that food tasted better when enjoyed with others. That is a fact. But boy, I want to try out your brother's cooking. Why don't we ask? Ruby questioned. As if O was listening, a note appeared on her lap. Sorry, can't do that. Pulling object from a different dimension might be possible, it's also against the rules. Sorry, O, well that suck. Yang complained. Blake didn't say a word, agreed with her partner she wanted to try the fish too. So when did you learn to cook? Did your parents teach you? Emerald asked Naruto. She hadn't really asked him a lot about himself. I learned to cook before I was adopted into the Belladonna family. I wasn't that different from you actually. A street rat with no real home, and nobody to love them. Had to take care of myself. I guess it's part of the reason why I didn't want you to get punished. I saw myself in you. I saw what I could have become in you. Naruto freely spoke of his own sensitive matters. How maybe she might be your new sister. Yang pondered. No. Blake said simply. He was an open book, and felt no shame in admitting his past to others. He didn't have anything he really felt the need or desire to hide. After all, Emerald was his traveling companion, so there was no reason to hide such trivial knowledge from her. It wasn't like he was telling her extremely sensitive secrets. I'm going to take that as an insult, but I'm not offended. Emerald stated deadpan style to him. She knew what people thought when they saw her. Youch! Naruto jumped high into the air with his hands going to his ass. Naruto flipped over the fire and landed on his face, his ass in the air, with Emerald just looking at him with both shock. Unable to really process why he had jumped. Yeah, we're kind of lost too. Ruby said. Is that an arrow? Emerald asked with confusion when she saw something black sticking out of his butt. Not only his butt, but he also had several arrows sticking out of his back as well. Of course, Naruto prioritized the arrow in his butt before the one stabbed in his back. Emerald instantly had her hands on her weapons, pulled out and ready for combat with whoever had shot the arrows at them. Who is there? Emerald demanded, not asked, because somebody was going to answer her. Who fires an arrow at someone but? Ruby asked. Forget that. Why did it take an arrow to gain his attention while he ignored the others? Weiss questioned. He does have a thick skin. Blake commented. But who was firing them? I'm surprised, the arrow that hit your head shattered. I meant to kill you, you are a very unique body. Wait a minute, I think I know that voice. Ruby said. Wait, she was trying to kill him? Blake yelled, immediately worried for her other brother's safety. Why my ass? Seriously, the FUCK. Naruto shouted out as he grabbed the arrow in his ass and yanked it out. He didn't even notice the arrow that had shattered against his skull. He had hard bones, he had been told before. He had survived falls from extreme heights before thanks to the sheer hardness of his bone structure. I can't reach the arrows in my back, Naruto mumbled as he used one of his hands to pull the other arrows out. I'd laugh if the situation wasn't dire. Weiss said cautiously. There were 5 of them stuck in his back. Not good. I'm sure that this isn't the first time somebody has tried to kill you. You seem to be taking that well. Let me help you with those arrows. The woman, the voice, spoke from the shadows as the snap of her fingers was heard. The arrows started to glow for a moment, before each of them exploded. Blood splattered the ground behind Naruto's back. Several spots on his back just gouged out. What the hell? Yan yelled. That was a bit brutal. She was hoping that would finally kill him. Ruby said. Blake didn't say anything as her worry increased. Naruto! Emerald called out, fearful that he was going to die. I'm fine, this won't kill me. It will take more than a little blood loss to take me down. Lady, you better stay hidden, because when I find you, I'm knocking out all of your teeth, all of them. Naruto threatened, both in pain and angry that he had his back exploded like it had been. He didn't have the arrows in his pain anymore, but the fact remains that he now had some pretty large wounds in his back to replace them. This the first time we've seen him angry. Blake said. Is that a good thing? Yang asked. Resilient one. He's so stupid that he wouldn't die, even if you killed him. Emerald pointed out as she shot the direction that the voice had come from. Shit, kind of wish I had night vision, Emerald pointed out as she looked around into the darkness of the forest surrounding them. Their campfire having been blown out by some unknown force. Emerald glanced around, while Naruto looked as well. He always did have great vision in the dark. Make me wish I was Faunus sometimes. Ruby said. The cons kind of outweigh the pro. Blake said. Beside, the only reason you do that is for a midnight cookie splurge in the cafeteria. Yang joked. But when Ruby didn't reply back and instead gained a large blush, the blonde laughed at her sister. He could see her, woman attacking them. Naruto took out a small knife from his pocket. He needed to go back to Menagerie to get his weapon, and he flung it into the forest. There was a clang as sparks appeared, lighting up the darkness for a brief second. The woman had been forced to block the knife before it could impale her face. It had been thrown with speed she couldn't dodge. She had barely been able to actually block it. You had a run-in with Raven Branwen and survived. I expected this level of skill from you. That is why I coated my arrows in poison. Poison doesn't really work on me that well. All it does is make me throw up. Naruto mentioned, and there was silence for a moment. How so? I was right. Yang said, and now she's stump. Ruby commented. She thought she had the upper hand, but with Naruto in the way she has the losing hand. Why said? The woman paused. She came out of the darkness with 2 swords drawn. The woman was a looker. Naruto would give her that for sure. She had a pale white skin color, with an hourglass figure. She wore a short red dress with black shorts underneath them, only visible thanks to the slits up the side of the short dress. She had long legs, and wore glass slippers. She had a black dust bag on her side, and short black hair that covered her left eye, with burning yellow eyes. Cinder. Ruby said, shocked at the antagonist. She does seem to have that kind of flair around her, and we know next to nothing about her. But she wouldn't really do something like that, would she? Ruby asked in hope. But the silent response did not fill her with any hope. Cinder fall. Originally, I just came for the girl. Emerald, your semblance is very unique. I came to recruit you, but now I'm thinking. Cinder did not get to finish what she was saying before Naruto punched her in the cheek and sent her flying into a tree. Her spine would have snapped when she hit the tree were it not for her aura. She slid down the tree, with Emerald pointing her pistols at her. Blood was coming from her mouth, staining her lower lip. She moved her jaw with her hand, before she reached into her mouth and pulled out a tooth that he had knocked out. She looked at the molar in her hand with annoyed eyes. Wow, he really made through his promise. Yang said, amazed at the strength of the punch. She had it coming. Blake said, with a slight tone of satisfaction seeing Cinder getting punched. He's stupid, but he always follows through with his threats. Emerald pointed out one of the traits she found respectable about Naruto. He didn't make threats. He made promises. I see. At the risk of sounding foolish, I humbly request that we put my earlier actions behind us, and talk like civilized people. I surrender. Cinder spoke smoothly, not showing any anger that she had a tooth knocked out. She spat out all of the blood in her mouth, and wiped her face clean using her sleeve. Thankfully, her sleeve was red, allowing the blood to blend in well with it. Emerald wasn't having it. Preach it, sister. Yang said. You attack us, threaten us, and now you think we are going to talk things out with you. You have some nerve. I'm going to put some bullets into your face for that. Emerald was angered by her words. Naruto stopped her by putting his arm in front of her guns. Ah. Yang and Ruby said in unison. Weiss was wondering why did he stop her. Emerald, stop. It's 2-on-1, and she lost the element of surprise. Not to mention with your illusions, and the fact I'm stronger and faster than her, she stands no chance, and she understands that. Naruto pointed out as he looked down at Cinder. He's right. Even if she somehow escaped, she'll be too injured to return for a second bout. Weiss commented. She was visibly annoyed by that statement. I just understand that. We will kick your ass if you try and fight, and you're a human. In this dark forest, late at night, you can't run away fast enough to escape me. You shot me, hoping to kill me, so that you would have the advantage and force Emerald to listen to you. Naruto wasn't stupid when it came to battle. He had analyzed all of her actions, and the way that she had been both talking and moving her body. She portrayed confidence, because she wanted to demoralize her enemies into mentally submitting to her, before she got them to physically submit. Wow, your brother is a tactful man in the battlefield. Weiss complimented. I'm surprised as well. He was able to figure Cinder out in only 5 minutes of knowing her. Blake added. She only read on a handful on hunters and huntresses that took them years to acquire that type of ability. Cinder took a calming breath. Then why aren't you attacking me? Cinder asked with a cocky smirk. Cocky being the understatement. Even Yang know when she's beat. Weiss said. Yang couldn't help but agree. Naruto is stopping me. Emerald answered the question. The only thing stopping her from shooting Cinder until she stopped moving was Naruto. Naruto and Naruto alone was allowing her to stay alive for as long as she has been. She is going to betray us the moment we let her go. She has to die. Emerald pointed out to Naruto, and he looked at Cinder. She won't. Cinder smirked. What makes you think I won't? Maybe all I'm doing is waiting for you to drop your guard, before I use the trump up my sleeve. Cinder spoke with confidence still, as if she was the one that was in the better position than them. Emerald looked around, trying to find anything that Cinder could use against them. Naruto's got this. He hasn't proved us wrong yet. Yang said. You're alone for one. You used arrows, poison, and explosions to try and kill me. Somebody with backup wouldn't go that far. You are alone, and in a position where fighting back means dying. You won't attack us, because you know that is a bad move. Naruto showed her motivations for trying to surrender to them now. Naruto didn't like it, but he refused to kill somebody that had surrendered the fight. You are also smart enough to realize that I realize this, and that I know your surrender is genuine. Naruto added on to it all, and Emerald looked confused. What? You're smart. Cinder complimented, and Naruto shook his head. Understatement. Was the collective response. Team RWBY couldn't help but marvel at the fictional blonde's way of thinking. No, I'm an idiot. I'm only good at fighting, and reading people. Not to mention you aren't good at hiding your intentions. You want me dead, and Emerald to join you. Right now, your only hope is to convince us to let you go. I'm not doing that. Naruto stated with a casual wave of his hand. Cinder was impressed. You release me, and I'll have your sister freed. Wrong thing to say. Definitely. You don't threaten someone who has you pinned. It bargaining 101. Yang said. Shaking her head. You watch too many movies. Why said. And you haven't watched enough. Was the reply. Naruto had his hand wrapped around Cinder's throat faster than she could breathe, and after that sentence, Naruto pushed her up against the tree, his sharp eyes staring right into her own with anger. Emerald put her guns away, because Cinder had actually managed to get Naruto angry enough to resort to physically assaulting her without her even having to attack him first. Cinder fucked up. Talk. The order was simple. Did anyone else get a weird shiver down their spine? Ruby asked. Meekly the rest of the raised their hand. Did any thought it was hot? Yang asked with her hand raised. Ruby was left confused, but Weiss had a small blush on her face while Blake shyly put up her hand. We have your sister. Blake Belladonna. Before I was sent here, a co-worker of mine, Tyrion, a scorpion faunus, was sent to Menagerie to capture your sister. If you allow me to go, I will make sure that she is freed, not a hair on her head harmed. Cinder gained a glint in her eye when she saw that reaction, and that strong of one. She had done some basic research on Naruto, enough to know who his family were. She was bluffing about having his sister. He's not gonna but it. Blake said after how well Naruto read her, he'll figure it out. His hand tightened on her throat, not cutting off her air supply completely. Her hands reached up and grabbed his arm, wincing at the pressure. She was able to hold her breath, but only for so long. You think I can't tell when somebody is lying to me? You don't have my sister, but if you ever so much as touch anyone in my family, I will kill you. Naruto did not threaten her. It was as Emerald had stated earlier. Something that Cinder could see when she looked into his eyes. He wasn't threatening her. Boy, he really knows how to put the fear in someone without training. Ruby said. I want to learn to do that. No. Was the unanimous response. Traitors. She mumbled. If she touched his family, he would actually kill her. Naruto lightened up on her throat just enough so that she could talk. Understood. I suggest you allow me to leave so that I can report back to my superior. They know I came here, and if I don't return, they will know you killed me and will kill your family. We have a man on Menagerie right now. By the time you go to save them, they will already be dead, but if you let me go, I can assure their survival. Cinder barely managed to get out, while Emerald watched Naruto's reaction to her words. He let go of her throat completely. Naruto nodded his head. You can't be trusting her. Emerald spoke, and Naruto closed his eyes. Yeah, Foxy, don't trust the psychopath. It rule 1 of bargaining. What rule 2? Always have hidden weapon in case of double cross, duh. Yan said as if she was read this before. I'm not stupid, girl. If I don't keep my word, I die. Also, he has no choice but to trust me now. If on the off chance I am telling the truth, his family is in danger. Killing me now will only mean the deaths of your loved ones. I'm either lying, and they are in no danger, or I'm telling the truth and they are in danger. Flip a coin. Cinder spoke with more malice than she had ever shown to them before now in her tone. She had been well and truly pushed into a corner. She had placed Naruto in a situation where his only option was to let her go. You were lying. My family isn't in any danger. Naruto looked down at Cinder, a slowly growing smile on his face. And Naruto is 5-0 in the own counter. With Naruto in the lead. Yang said, as if it was a competition in the first place. Weiss added, I really can't meet him. Ruby said, it was in her eyes, he could see it. Are you willing to take that risk? Cinder questioned, and Naruto pushed her to the ground and tore his sleeve off of his jacket. He tied her hands behind her back, and he could see her expression change to show that she was annoyed. How did you figure out I was lying? Cinder asked when she realized he wasn't going to buy her lie. She had hoped he would fall for it. I guess the saying was true, only the truth can set you free. Ruby said, but in this case, only truth won't get you killed. Yang replied, if you had my family in danger, there would have been no need to attack me to begin with. You would have shown yourself, and started out with that information. My family isn't in danger, you just said that to give yourself the edge. Naruto stated after thinking about everything that had happened since she shot him in the ass. All of her actions showed that she had been trying to get the upper hand, because she didn't naturally have the upper hand. She wanted to kill him because she didn't have anything she could use to bargain with him. You'd think he'd make a great detective? Yang asked. Are you kidding? If he was an Atlas he'd be made a general easily. Wise said. The girl would agree, Naruto had this battle-tact mind that really be used against the Grim. Of course, consider how well Atlas treats their faunus. Blake said. Oh no, we are not doing now. Weiss finished the chapter. Yang warned. The Shinee brought her attention back to the book. I suggest we kill her. Emerald spoke, and Naruto shook his head. She surrendered. Not to mention she was after you. It's better to keep her alive. I'm sure whoever her boss is will want her back. It will cause more trouble than she is worth if we kill her. Have anything to say for yourself? Naruto questioned Cinder, who refused to open her mouth as she laid in the dirt in silence. Her silence was more than enough answer for Naruto though, while Emerald sat down and took out a single gun that she kept on her lap. And like that, Naruto scores another point, making this game, set, and match. Yang announced. I have to say, it was satisfying to see the arrangement happen. Wise said. You're injured, Naruto. I'll keep watch on her while you rest and heal up. Emerald stated as she looked at Cinder. She has a silver tongue, don't let her seduce you with words. Naruto warned her as he walked towards the spot that he was going to sleep on. He had stopped bleeding, and by morning his back would be all better. Then they would be able to question Cinder more, and like that it is done. Well, that was something. Yang said. So who's next? Ruby asked. What if Konoha reads Naruto and RWBY? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.